It's 5 o'clock and I'd like to call the, gosh, it's not September 25th, is it? The October 10th, 9th. You know, it's always good to start with a laugh. I'd like to call the October 9th work session of the Staunton City Council to order. Is there a motion to appoint an acting city clerk?
Mayor Edward.
Yes.
I don't have it in front of me.
All right, Counselor Park?
Yes.
I move to approve the work session and regular meeting.
No, we
that's
aren't
agenda.
not
there
it.
yet. We're not
That's
there.
I'm sorry.
Okay, let's start over.
We're all. on the
Is there a
same page.
motion to appoint an acting city clerk?
Mayor Edwards.
Counselor Park.
I move to appoint John Blair as acting city clerk for the October 9th, 2025 work session and regular meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second,
All righty, any further discussion about? Mr. Blair, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I will now entertain a motion to approve the work session and regular meeting agendas. Counselor Overholzer.
Thank you. I move to approve the work session and regular meeting agendas as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Counselor Woods. Any discussion about that? All right, Mr. Blair, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. Well, our first presentation tonight is the Virginia Main Street Program. Ms. Beauregard.
Want to consider the agendas?
We just did.
Oh,
that.
We just did. Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
I think there are sunspots
Let me
or like
breathe.
the
Close to
planet.
Halloween.
I am totally listening.
Maybe
Yes,
it's a
we
full moon
are.
More
tonight.
intense.
I would like to say to our
consideration of the
special
agenda.
guests tonight, we don't often open
No,
our
we
meetings
don't.
this way.
But we know it will end up in the news leader somehow. So-
Yes, thank you, Mayor
Okay.
Edwards.
Yes,
I would
ma'am.
like to introduce Courtney Maley and Kelvin Whitehurst from Virginia Main Street. They're here this evening just to provide an overview about Virginia Main Street. I don't think we've ever actually had them come before council before, so this is a great introduction. And to answer any questions you might have, I know she'd like to start with a short presentation
Excellent.
and then we'll have room for questions.
Yes, good evening and welcome.
Hi, thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
And feel free to ask questions throughout. It's a very bare bones presentation, very much a 101. So pipe up at any time and help keep the presentation moving. So Virginia Main Street is housed within the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development. It is a certified state coordinating program, and in Virginia, that is within the DHCD. Other states have other structures. Maryland is through DHCD, South Carolina is through the Municipal League. It just kind of depends on how it came together. So this was established in 1985 in Virginia. And as a Main Street America coordinating program, we are connected with the other 40 coordinating programs. And we have National Main Street, which is a subsidiary of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. It is not actually a federal program. Some people get that confused. It is a nonprofit. And then after the state coordinating programs, we have the locally powered programs. So there's kind of 3 levels of engagement, and that's what we'll talk about tonight. So Virginia Main Street, meet the team. We're a team of 6. I am the program manager, and Kelvin Whitehurst is your assigned person. So all of the highest tier communities, advancing Main Street communities, have an assigned coach. And you guys can call Kelvin at any time. He is here to help you be successful. So tonight we're going to talk about the 3 different tiers: national accreditation and what that means, state designation, what that means, and then local collaboration, how all these 3 tiers or 3 levels play together. So for Virginia Main Street, the levels of participation are going from, I'm going to say, easiest to most difficult. So exploring Main Street is the entry level participation. And it's non-competitive, so you fill out an application and get a resolution from local government that you would like to pursue revitalization and you're in the club. It's pretty easy to get in, to stay in. There is annual reporting and we would like to see you at trainings. Please call Kelvin once a year, very low level. So if we see or hear from you once a year and you fill out the annual evaluation, you stay in a exploring level. I'm going to skip the middle, go to the end. So advancing is the most difficult to get into. There is a competitive application process. Getting in is difficult, staying in is difficult. And the bridge between those two tiers, mobilizing, is fairly new. We've been doing the mobilizing program for about 3 years. It is required to go through a 2-year curriculum in order to just apply to become advancing. So if for whatever reason a program would like to be engaged, they want to go all the way and become an advancing Main Street community, at this point, you have to wait a year before you can even apply to apply. So it would probably be at least a 3-year wait to become an advancing community at this point, if you just got the notion. Yes,
I'm sorry if I missed it. What level is Stanton?
Stanton is advancing. That's why I circled it. Yes, you're at the highest tier. And within the highest tier, so there are 35 communities in that highest tier. There is an even more elite club within that highest tier, the Great American and Main Street Award winners. There are 6, and Staunton was the first. So Staunton is one of those GAMSA winners within the advancing tier. So national accreditation. All of the communities that are in that highest tier are evaluated every year. Virginia Main Street collects information provided by local programs, and then we will sit down with the executive director and the board president and go through all of the information and compare their outcomes for the previous year with the standards. And we'll go through the standards in just a minute, but the value of accreditation means that being accredited in Virginia is the same as being accredited in New Mexico, as it is in Washington, D.C., as it is in California. Everybody has to meet the same standard everywhere around the country. And these standards, there are 6 standards, and there's also baseline requirements. And I know that you guys will have questions about Stanton's accreditation. So for 2024, Stanton was not accredited because of the baseline standards. You're meeting the other 6 standards. You're meeting the hard ones. It's just you got behind on the reporting. So the reporting is now caught up. We do not see any reason why Stanton would not be reaccredited for 2025. Any questions about the evaluation standards? Okay. So state designation. So if you're nationally accredited, then you are also designated at the state level. And from time to time, a community will have a wobble for whatever reason. You don't have to be accredited every year to retain your designation, but if you miss twice in a row, that's when designation is at risk. And we don't see that happening here. But the value of being designated means that you receive technical assistance through your one-on-one coach. We also provide services. I know that many of you are familiar with Fraser Associates, who was the Main Street architect for 39 years. Kathy and Bill did retire last year. We're sad about that. And Commonwealth Preservation Group is now the Main Street architect. So you have access to those services because you are designated. You have access to grant funds that are set aside specifically for your tier. Continuing education, we offer at least 4, often many times more training opportunities. We want to see local leaders get more information, develop more skills, and become more engaged. Yes.
Yes, I was going to ask you, who is the target for training? Is it the staff of whatever the leadership organization is, or as you just said, elected officials, city staff?
So we have different types of trainings, but the core group of trainings is open to volunteers and board members. So we love it when we see board members, volunteers, elected officials. If you want to be engaged and come to those trainings, we would love to have you. There are only 2 trainings that are a little more exclusive. One is the annual Executive Directors Retreat. So that's where all the executive directors from all the programs come together for peer learning and continuing education. And then we also have a board forum, and that's next week.
Oh,
And for the board forum, we like it for it to just be board members
Right.
so that they can have an open conversation without the presence of staff.
Thank you.
Of course.
Can you give an example of technical assistance?
Sure. So, I mean, Calvin has been here quite a few times already this year, providing one-on-one assistance to Staunton Downtown Development Association and helping connect them with other resources. So the Center for Nonprofit Excellence is going to be doing a board training next week with SDDA. So that's an example of technical assistance. Facade renderings that have been provided to Staunton through Fraser. That's an example of technical assistance. And then a couple of years ago, we provided some market analysis, retail market analysis for the Staunton downtown area. I would still consider that research relevant. We might revisit it in another couple of years, like every 5 years, you might want to refresh that, but that information is still current. And those are some examples, but not exclusively those examples. And then knowledge sharing. Knowledge sharing covers a pretty wide range of topics and mediums. So we have a website. We also have some tech sheets that we developed in partnership with Fraser Associates around emerging issues like murals. So we get a lot of questions about murals, and then we developed kind of a how-to for a mural program. Upper story housing was a hot issue a few years ago, so we developed a tech sheet around that particular topic and how to do that well. We also, through that data that is collected from all the local programs, have salary survey information. It's still confidential, but if a program is hiring an executive director, either for the first time or they're in transition, we're able to provide them information about salaries and benefits, both for senior and support staff in local Main Street organizations, so that you can see what is normal-ish in Virginia. And we do recognize that there will be regional variations, but even within regional variations, there's still going to be a median and an average. And budgets. So a lot of our programs that, especially the young ones, are trying to figure out how to piece together their first budget. So the budget data from all of the different programs saying, we get some from the city, we get some from the county, we get some from fundraising, special assessment districts like Staunton has. That's a very important resource. And I'm so glad that you are doing that because it's a great example for us to point other communities towards. And that's part of the knowledge sharing. And then finally, the value of designation also includes reputational credibility for economic development. So when we have communities that have vacant storefronts and they're looking for retailers to fill those vacant storefronts, a small business that sees that you have this program active is going to have more confidence investing in filling that storefront with their business. And we've heard time and again, like regional chains, like Latitudes. So Latitudes is an example of a company that tends to locate in Main Street districts, but they're still a Virginia company. They're not going everywhere, but they are keeping their eyes open for opportunities in communities like yours. So local collaboration, the Main Street approach, I wanted to go through just what is the Main Street approach and why it matters. I'm not assuming that anyone here does or does not know the Bible of Main Street is these 4 points. So if you can remember the word dope, then you can remember Main Street. So D for design, It's all about appearances and putting your best foot forward, organization. So engaging the community, having outreach and making sure that you have a broad-based engagement across the community. It's not just one certain type of person or interest group that drives the agenda. It's a wide swath of the community that is supporting that. P is for promotion. So that includes marketing, messaging, and events. And I know a lot of people see the events and think that that's what Main Street is all about. But for us, it's really only 25% of the activity. We like to see well-rounded activity across the organization. And then fourth, but not least, is economic vitality and economic development. So supporting small businesses, helping entrepreneurs get into their first business for the first time, connecting them with financing and other suppliers, attorneys, bookkeepers, all the things that it takes to make a small business successful. You want to have that in your downtown, and you want to be able to connect them. And I'm just going to keep it to those four. There's a lot of other words on this slide, but you can look at that later. Across all of the 4 points, we have what we call a transformation strategy. And this is a market-based strategy that all of the 4 points kind of filter through. And I mentioned previously that transformation strategy service that SDDA had done a couple years ago. And one of the transformation strategies that was recommended was downtown residents. So focusing on businesses, events, organizational draw that support and cater to downtown residents. And you could probably also say workers, but the people who spend the most time here already, making that a focus of some of the effort going forward. And I guess I just said that. So these were the 4 that they had to pick from, and the 4th one. So offering diverse amenities, services, restaurants, and retail with locals and visitors in mind. And I don't know if you guys know your super awesome numbers, but I thought I would share them with you. So since Staunton joined the Main Street program in 1995, this has generated more than $200 million in private investment in your downtown. 85 million in public investment, so still a pretty good return on your investment there. More than 2,000 jobs created and retained downtown. More than 600 businesses created and retained in your downtown. And more than $7 million in volunteer time donated across about 200,000 hours. So pretty awesome numbers. You have a lot to be proud of. And I know that you guys will have this presentation, so I have some hyperlinks here if you want to do more research and learning going forward. And that's it. So does anyone else have questions?
Courtney, how long have you been part of the Virginia Main Street?
How long have I sort of have 2 tenures. I started with Virginia Main Street the first time in 2002. And Staunton was one of my communities when I was in Kelvin's position. So I remember working with Staunton in 2002 when you won the GAMSA award. That was pretty good times. And then in 2006, I went to work for the Federal Reserve System. And then in 2000, I think 2001, no, 2020, it's been a while. It's 5 years ago. So yes, 2020, I came back to DHCD as a program administrator and then was promoted to program manager 2 years after that. So all in, I'm going to say probably like 9-ish years.
Scattered around there.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, in 2002 and before that, Stanton was kind of building, back up
Mhm.
from it and finding its way. And I know that SDDA in particular was part of kind of the restoration, revitalization of the downtown. Through the
Absolutely.
facade grants program and resources for small businesses starting up. But I think a big part of a Main Street organization is to adapt to the changing needs of a downtown. That some are, just trying to get people to rent out store space in their downtowns, and some are beyond that and getting up to the next level and revitalizing new areas of the city too. And it's been interesting to learn more about, Virginia Main Street's help along the way in that, because it's easy to just kind of look at Stanton as it is now and say, well, it was always this way, but
Mhm.
there were definitely times that, where people were saying, like, maybe we should get rid of all this old stuff.
But even beautiful places need ongoing care and attention. The work is never done. Even Florence, Italy, like they still have to take care of themselves. They still are dealing with revitalization issues and they're like 1,000 years old. So
Yeah.
it never ends. It never ends.
I lived in Charleston, South Carolina. There are plenty of preservation awards stuck to the side of abandoned, rundown houses
Yes.
on that. So you have to stay vigilant.
Absolutely.
Kelvin, since you're our contact, would you like to introduce yourself or share with us? Explain how we might interact with you, or how our city employees interact with you, how SDDA interacts with you in a practical sense.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Kelvin Whitehurst. I'm a program administrator for Virginia Main Street. So I have been with the organization now for about eight or 9 months at this point. So it's been absolutely fun to be here.
Mhm.
But prior to that, I worked pretty closely with Virginia Main Street. I used to work right down the street from you all in downtown Lynchburg. So I worked for Downtown Lynchburg Association for almost 3 years. So I have a lot of experience working with main streets and knowing exactly what goes on at the boots on the ground level, I guess, from our perspective. So it has been a great transition being at the state, but now working closely with Staunton Downtown Development Association, we have been, going through trying to get the organization back to accreditation. So that requires a lot of in-person trainings, or at least just being in touch with the organization. And we have biweekly calls, and I'm talking very closely with Staunton Downtown Development Association along with the board as well. So a lot of this has been a lot of remedial tasks that have been done to get the organization accredited again. And I'm happy to report that it has been very well attended this entire time. I talked closely with Jessica and Sarah, and of course the current interim director as well. So, yeah.
A question for either one of you. Later on, we'll be discussing the Stanton plan, and one of the items in the draft plan is developing a holistic plan for downtown to ensure economic vitality, to assess parking, how that fits in, wayfinding, potential enhancements, including daylighting streams, new green space. Would you be
I don't want to overstep my bounds as a program administrator, but I think that would be something that we could absolutely be at the table at, and being able to identify funding opportunities from our own organization. That's one thing, a part of my technical assistance that I provide as the grants open within our program. I am here to help develop a strong grant application. So I would absolutely love to be there, and if I can help out in any way, please let me know.
And Main Street specifically offers feasibility grants for many.
As resources are provided.
Last question. We're about to wrap this up. Counselor Woods, did anyone have a question? Okay,
I'll be sure to leave a card for you
that would
all.
be terrific. Thank you. Well, thank you, Courtney and Kelvin, for being here. This has been a really nice little 101, as you said, and look forward to seeing you all back here again.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
So, yeah, this will be on the presentations page. So. And it's on the internet. All righty, next on the agenda is a presentation of Central Shenandoah Planning District Commission fiscal year 2025 annual report. Ms. Beauregard.
Yes, Ann Cundy is the Executive Director of the CSPDC, and she is here tonight to present their annual report and, of course, answer any questions you might have.
Good evening, Ms. Cundy. Welcome back. It's always good to have you here.
Thank you so much, Mayor Edwards and members of council. It's great to see you. I'm Ann Cundy, Executive Director of the PDC. I've been with the Planning District Commission for over 12 years now in various roles, but have been in this position for about a year and a half. And here tonight to share our FY25 annual report, which we just published in September. So each of you has a copy of that at your desk to take a look at. We also sent it out digitally, and it is posted to our CSPDC Connect public engagement site. If you know of anybody who wants to take a look, we do have a pretty limited number of glossy print ones. But what I'm going to do tonight is walk you through the highlights, and certainly happy to take questions as you have them. So, CSPDC has been in existence for really 56 years now. We were formed in 1969 by an act of the General Assembly that created all the PDCs to foster regional collaboration and cooperation across jurisdictional boundaries for purposes of economic development, transportation planning, and the like. So our PDC is 5 counties, 5 cities, and 11 towns. So Rockingham, Harrisonburg, Staunton, Augusta, Waynesboro, Rockbridge County, Lexington, Buena Vista, Bath Island, and 11 towns that I can name, but
You need an acronym like DOPE, and then you got.
I know their presentation was totally dope.
It was totally
Okay.
dope. Bump, bump.
So yeah, we have a lot of jurisdictions, 21, and we are geographically the largest PDC in the state and certainly one of the most rural. We have 15 staff, counting me, and focus on 5 general program areas. And if there's a number that you take away tonight, it's that during our most recent reporting period, which was fiscal 21 to 24, we brought in $91 million in state and federal funding. So $93 returned for every $1 that our jurisdictions invest. In a minute, I'll explain why that number is really high for that reporting period. But that was pretty exciting to tabulate. Oops, that one is missing its header. I don't know where it went. But in more detail, again, for every $1 in local funding, we delivered 98 in return for that reporting period. We will soon have our 22 to 25 numbers to share with our commission in a couple weeks, and then happy to provide those to you. But in our housing program, that was $2.5 million worth of state and federal funds. Resiliency, which covers hazard mitigation planning and environmental planning, $3.2 million. Transportation, that's always the big one, because as we know, those projects, particularly if we're talking about something on the interstate or a new location of a roadway, those are very expensive. But that also includes our public transit system, Bright Transit. And then under economic development, $18.5 million coming in through grants. So in that housing program, last fiscal year, we completed our regional housing study, thank goodness, which of course has regional strategies as well as a section that is tailored with analysis and strategies and recommendations for each of our jurisdictions, Staunton, Augusta, and Waynesboro certainly being the most active in terms of, full steam ahead to implement the recommendations from that study. We assisted 11 first-time home buyers through a down payment assistance program that we receive from DHCD. We also were able to provide many of those first-time home buyers with interest rate reductions through the Spark program, which was tremendously exciting. So, to have funds towards your down payment and know that for the life of that loan, you've taken a percentage point off really makes the difference between homeownership and continuing to rent. And then through our first PDC housing development program in partnership with Virginia Housing, we invested 1.6 million in 48 affordable units. So that was funding to projects across the region that brought them to full funding and implementation. One of the most exciting being 2 new units there at Fairfax Hall in Waynesboro, which is a residential facility for adults with disabilities and the elderly. So we were able to fully fund 2 efficiency apartments there at Fairfax Hall, which is also, of course, a fantastic example of historic preservation. So. On the transportation side, we are pretty unique as a planning district commission in that we staff 2 regional transportation planning bodies, Harrisonburg, Rockingham, MPO, and Staunton, Augusta, Waynesboro. So each of those has a board and a technical committee, and they mostly meet monthly and coordinate and undertake studies and maintain a 25-year plan. So in Harrisonburg and Rockingham, we worked with one of our on-call consulting firms, an engineering firm named VHB, to look at crash trends at a series of intersections along Port Republic Road and come up with some cost-effective solutions to those. We identified 120 electric vehicle charging sites in the rural part of our region. We have I'll say a small but mighty rural transportation planning program.
When you say you identified charging sites, does that mean you help build them or install them or?
No, it was just a site assessment to help our rural jurisdictions, which is Bath Highland, Rockbridge, Lexington, Buena Vista, and then the rural parts of Augusta and Rockingham counties. We helped them identify where they could install an EV, both from a siting perspective and availability of sufficient power to run one, and also just where one would likely be well utilized. So there are a handful of state programs that will pay for the cost of at least a tier 2 charger through a long-term lease. So we were trying to tee up those, some of our local governments, particularly our smallest towns, might have a town clerk and that's it, or a town manager and that's it. So even if they had the ability, they don't have the time. So that's a lot of the kind of support that we provide to our smaller jurisdictions. And then for Staunton, Augusta, Waynesboro, for the last 18 months, we've been in the process of updating that long-range plan, the 25-year plan that'll be delivered in December. That takes a look at the whole region, identifies needs that we're going to have based on where we anticipate residential, commercial growth to occur, identifies a list of projects that can address those needs, comes up with cost estimates, and then we use those to put together funding applications to hopefully get those projects built. And certainly of great excitement here in Staunton, and honestly, like a lot of personal meaning for me. Y'all redid the striping and reconfigured the lanes on Churchill Avenue. My first 5 years in Staunton, I lived on Selma Boulevard across the street from Blake and Carroll. And I'm sorry, Councilman Shepherd. And we crossed at that intersection without a pedestrian flashing beacon and a well-marked crosswalk to get to the park with very small children, and rode my bike through there a lot. And then to have participated almost 10 years ago in the committee that put together the city's bike ped plan and identified the funds for that project. It's very exciting to see it literally on the street. So sometimes it takes that long. And
Mm.
that's what I have to remind people of when they stop me at church or in the grocery store to ask, when in the world this is happening. Like, well,
Mm.
it's going to take about 10 years. So,
And lots of phone calls.
yeah. Okay, so moving on to our resiliency program, our environmental program. We have been working with Bath and Highland counties on a pretty unique grant program with the Department of Homeland Security. And they're providing 2 million for upgraded emergency radio communications for those jurisdictions. They're in the Green Bank Telescope quiet zone. So they're really limited in how they can communicate with one another, very scant cell phone coverage, and their blend of volunteer and paid fire and rescue and EMS need to be able to communicate with one another over those long distances. So we wrote a grant application in partnership with them along with Pocahontas and Pendleton County, West Virginia, which frankly, it was that like cross-state partnership that I think got that one funded. But they're well underway with purchasing that equipment and implementing that new system. We were able to obtain $300,000 for watershed improvements, particularly the South River Preserve, our neighbors to the east in Waynesboro. If you're not familiar, this was the old DuPont parking lot that was cracked and weeds were growing up, and maybe you parked there for your child's soccer game, but they tore the whole thing up and planted it with native species, flowers, shrubs, and trees. And it is now just this beautiful spot along their South River Greenway Trail. So that was $300,000 of DEQ funding for that. And then also by December, we will have a new regional all hazards mitigation plan, which is a major undertaking. But having that up to date and approved by every jurisdiction in the region assures that when or if we have a natural or man-made disaster, that you're eligible for FEMA funds to mitigate it. So that's an important one. On the transit side, certainly the biggest event for us last year was cutting the ribbon on the Lewis Street hub across the street from Chicano Boy, our new transit hub where you can now safely access the bus, and it's well lit, it's ADA accessible. The Garden Club gave us a commendation for the native species, which was really exciting. And actually, I should say kudos to Matt Senzabaugh, because when he reviewed the engineer's landscaping plan, he came back and said, you could do these standard landscaping species, but here's some native options. And we talked about all those internally and went with those, and they look great. They're really coming in. So award-winning Lewis Street Hub. We saw record ridership growth on the Afton Express, which is our commuter route from Staunton, Fishersville, Waynesboro, over the mountain to Charlottesville, primarily to UVA. We grew 16%. We provided over 19,000 rides last fiscal year. We also implemented a mobile data collection and vehicle tracking system, so GPS on all the buses, and these really nice tablets that the drivers can use to log ridership, which is a whole lot better than making tally marks on a piece of paper. And then they get live updates on their manifest from dispatch. So very much bringing it into the 21st century. Across the region, we've led a lot of economic development projects and community development projects. We've brought $2.25 million to the town of Goshen in Northwest Rockbridge County, both through a planning grant with DHCD and then an implementation grant to build out a community center for them adjacent to their town hall. Through the Go Virginia program, of which we are half of our Region 8. In the Valley, we brought in $3 million across 9 funded projects, including things like the water and sewer upgrades that made the Shenandoah Airport Technology Park possible. And that one is still going. I mean, they are looking at ways to fund and construct another hangar because demand is already exceeding their space up there. So lots of exciting stuff. So looking ahead, can't believe that we're already well into the second quarter of FY26. I'm already getting budget requests for 27. We are going to continue to address housing stability and supply. We have another PDC housing development grant from Virginia Housing. We were one of only 8 PDCs that applied for that and received it. We will improve Afton Express service by rolling out a better schedule in about a month that will make sure that shift workers in particular are being dropped off 10, 15 minutes before their shift starts, and also addressing an afternoon rush where we frankly need another bus. We'll continue to advocate for regional transportation priorities through the MPO, particularly to the Commonwealth Transportation Board, to underscore the fact that in addition to improving 81, we have local and regional projects that are worthy of funding and are important needs for quality of life and regional economic vitality. We'll create a more resilient region. We'll be kicking off a flood resiliency plan that is being funded through DCR. We have the Berkeley Group on hand to do that with us. That will again tee up all the jurisdictions in our region to access more of the community flood mitigation planning grant money. So once we have the plan in place, we can get the implementation money, and then we'll continue to support local and regional economic development, both through implementing our CEDS, our comprehensive economic development strategy for the region, and then supporting Go Virginia. So there's really not much we're not doing.
Yeah. It's just 15 people.
Yeah, we need some more.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of information.
Yeah.
And I would, I hardly need to say this to Staunton, but we are your PDC. We were created to serve our jurisdictions. Y'all literally own us. And we are here to serve you. And we love collaborating and hearing from you and providing that. So we hope that you continue to call on us to help you find grant funding, to get grants written, to administer them, to help you with your comp plan updates, as we've done many times before. All of that. We are here to serve you. So.
Thank you, Ms. Cundy. Is there any
Yeah.
questions from
Yes.
counselors?
A sort of big picture question. What are the opportunities and challenges that you see in the coming year?
That is a big picture question. I am certainly keenly aware of the fact that our agency relies in part on ongoing federal grant programs. I have not been given any indication that any of them are in danger of being eliminated, but many of them have already been delayed. So we are already thinking about ways for our planning district commission to rethink how we provide services to our jurisdictions and diversifying our revenue streams and providing services that, a locality might want to contract with us for instance, rather than being completely reliant on those federal funds. But, transit is very stable. And so we're tracking it, but we're not worried. As far as opportunities, there's so many, but particularly in the housing space, we have been talking with local electeds and staff about multiple initiatives that we can partner with the city, with staff, with the community foundation to implement some of those low-hanging fruit strategies from the housing study. So I see a lot of opportunities there, particularly in the SAW subregion.
It's exciting.
Any other questions for Ms. Cundy? Well, all right, we'll let you off the hook early then. Thank you
Okay.
so much for this
Thank you.
information.
Appreciate
Thank you
the
for-
opportunity.
Well, thank you for your hard work. I know you guys stay busy. Thank you. This takes us on to item 4, update on regional P25 radio project. Ms. Beauregard.
So our Kurt Plowman, our Chief Technology Officer, is here this evening to provide an exciting update. He has something in his hand.
Oh, my. It
Show and
is show and
tell.
tell. It's like a field trip.
But we're going to talk to each other.
Yeah.
You can if you want. They are live system, they are live radios on the new system. Good evening, Mayor.
Here they
Mayor,
are. Good evening. How are you,
Houston,
sir?
are you
Members
there?
of council. You got to push the button to key up.
I never know when to call you officer or what to
Test,
call you.
test 2.
Gotcha. Hellish Wake.
I'll get.
There
Now
we go.
you
Maybe that
got
wasn't a
it.
good idea to start with.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Give us a
Take
few
them
minutes.
away.
Yeah.
I know.
It's been about a year since I've
We've
been,
been, it's been a long time.
it's been about a year since I've been here to
Right.
present an update on the P25 radio system.
And here they are.
So, and it has been a very busy year. Just as a recap, the Saul Regional Radio System is a partnership between us, Augusta County and Waynesboro to replace all of the existing radio systems with one common unified system for better communications, better operability, and better coverage for all of us. It has been a very busy year. About a year ago, we were just starting installation of the microwave dishes up on all of our tower sites. We have completed all that. We've completed the radio antenna installations. We have got FCC licensing for a bunch of new frequencies that are involved with that. We have received all of our equipment that has been staged in each one of the locations. We have hired a full-time radio technician, which is a shared employee between the 3 jurisdictions. He's been with us almost a year now and is working very heavily in the installation process and the starting the system up. We have actually started installations in our dispatch center as well as Staunton, Augusta dispatch centers. Part of the radio system, we had some auxiliary things that needed to get done, especially in Staunton Dispatch Center. We did a furniture upgrade, so we replaced all the furniture the dispatchers use and basically live out 24 hours a day in preparation for a new radio system coming in. We put a brand new UPS system in, which covers the police department in case there's a power outage. We do have a generator to building, but in that brief time between the power going out and battery backups kicking in, the UPS now will hold the facility for I think about an hour and a half until in case we have generator problems, but we really needed that to support the radio system. We've had fiber installed to several locations to support communications between buildings and tower sites. And most recently, we actually did turn the system on, powered it up in August, which was a very exciting time. It has been probably about 7 years since we really started talking about the project. Back in 2019, 2020, we did the needs analysis. We did an RFP. We a long, extensive evaluation. Spent about a year doing a very detailed design and review with our vendor L3 Harris. So to actually see the system get turned on was a pretty crazy day to actually see blinky lights and things communicating the way they were supposed to. We did some basic testing, make sure the system was functioning, and spent most of September actually doing coverage testing. A very detailed plan where we tiled, cut the county and the city into tiles and actually had teams going out in the field, validating that the radio system is functioning the way we expect it to. We had close to 3,000 tiles that were tested both for inbound and outbound transmissions. And the result, and we actually had a contractual obligation of minimum number of tiles that needed to be met for passing. We have exceeded that. We did find a couple of areas though that we feel that we can improve coverage on. And in order to fulfill those improvements, we decided to push the implementation back a little bit. So we were hoping to be going live in November. We're now looking at probably January, which will enable us to make some changes, which we think is going to improve the coverage even better than what we've got right now. We are really kicking into installation of the mobile radios, which are the radios in the police cars, fire trucks, public works, and buses. We've got over 200 units already installed, primarily in Augusta County and Waynesboro. We have fire and rescue installed here in Staunton. Those are new L3 Harris radios in the apparatus, but they're still using the old Motorola infrastructure that's currently in place. So those departments were able to utilize the new radios on the older system. Our public works, our police, our sheriff's office, and our schools are using a proprietary Motorola program as part of their radios and are going to be a little more complicated in order to making that migration. So we've had to push those off a little bit, but we still have several hundred more mobiles to actually install. The system has close to 3,000 radios overall. So this is a very substantial system that's being put in place. As I said, we've started installation in dispatch. We have a lot of, people would maybe consider a base station, a radio in an office. We had some meetings this morning. We'll probably be starting that by the end of the month. We have 40 of those here in the city for school bus transportation. Public works primarily are the ones that are going to be using the base stations. As you can imagine, we have a lot of training. Put a brand new fancy tool in front of people. We want to make sure they understand how to use it. So we're working right now on getting testing or training scheduled for our dispatchers. Some folks are going to be involved in actually designing the screens that are going to be used in our dispatch centers. Very customizable, very interactive option for them to create the screens that they're going to be using, and then bringing the dispatchers in for fairly extensive training on how to actually use the new system, how to communicate, how to patch talk groups together so we can really take advantage of the new system we have in place, as well as scheduling user training for everyone who's getting a radio. So we want to, everybody who's going to have a radio in their hand is going to receive training on how to use it. As I said, we are looking, unfortunately, it's sliding a little bit to January, but rather than trying to cram it in to meet a 2025 deadline, we felt we really needed to take the time to implement it correctly. We've had a great relationship with the two other jurisdictions. We've got a very good partner in L3 Harris, a lot of subcontractors. A lot of those folks are coming in from out of the area, but they are spending quite a bit of time and quite a bit of money here in the locality. It's our folks doing the mobile installs have a team of 8 folks. A lot of them are staying here. They've actually rented a house in town because of that. A lot of our other contractors have come in, but they've spent quite a bit of time staying and living here in Staunton. So that's been exciting to see them coming in. One of our project managers is actually looking at retiring here in Staunton now based on his time and experience here. So that was kind of a surprise.
How it happens.
Yeah, when his wife started coming and visiting him on weekends, instead of him going back to Florida, I thought something was happening. So that's turned out really good. And once we finish installation, we still have a period of burn-in, a lot of testing we still need to complete once the system's actually live with a full load on it. And then the last step is decommissioning, where we come in and actually take out all the old stuff. We've got a lot of antennas, a lot of microwave dishes that are hanging up on towers right now. And we need to clean house and make sure all that stuff is taken down and removed, so we keep our nice clean environment. So.
Can you just remind us of the benefits of this system, interoperability between departments, localities?
Everything from the fact that the system that we're using, like most of the system here in Staunton, is 15 years old. It is out of date. It was never really intended for public safety grade. There's a certain standard that you have not only in the radios, but the infrastructure. And that was a temporary Band-Aid between an older system and what we were hoping to put a new system in, and that is finally coming to fruition. Interoperability is the huge one. If we have to move dispatch right now to Augusta County, for example, which is our backup center, they don't really have a good way to use our current radio system up there. So we're really in a bind. We would have to put our officers on a county channel instead of them using the existing channels that we have right now. Encryption is going to be a big one. That's a safety feature for the officers that will have the ability to have encryption so they can, perform their duties in a safe environment. Being able to communicate with each other between jurisdictions is going to be a big one. We're also looking at interoperability to Rockbridge Albemarle, Nelson, Harrisburg, Rockingham, and some of the New Highland system also. So in case we do have a major incident, we'd be able to actually communicate with everybody. And it may not help Staunton as much as it could help Waynesboro and Augusta County. You know, we always have the crashes up in Afton, and it's a multi-jurisdictional thing from folks coming over the other side of the mountain. That's a very complicated process right now. Though they'll be able to do that and dispatch within a matter of seconds.
And is it between PD, sheriff's office, firefighters, fire and rescue?
Between,
or
yes,
The
all,
ambulance service,
all,
everybody?
all of those folks between all the jurisdictions.
Mhm.
So we'll be able to patch any combination of those together through dispatch. We have also looked at creating talk groups that are going to be used for like the Queen City Mischief major event. Right
Right.
now, we've got
Ah.
4 different departments. They're working each on their own radio channels. So if you've got a missing child, you could relay, it's either on a phone call or talking to somebody down the street about what's going on versus everybody hearing the same communications coming out at the same time because we're all working the same event.
And what do you think the lifespan of this one is? Is this like,
We have already, we've gone into the project with a 15-year life cycle. We've already got quotes and expectations for
Yeah.
maintenance, for upgrades throughout the course of the next 15 years. So that's, we're expecting to get
Yeah.
at least 15 years out of it.
with technology, that's probably all you can expect. So that sounds
It
great.
is,
Long time for technology.
I was actually at a conference yesterday, with L3 Harris, and they were laying out their 20-year roadmap. They're doing upgrades, but a lot of what people who have got systems a lot older than us, it's a very easy migration path.
Thanks.
A lot of these things are now software. These are very sophisticated radios, but all of it's really software on a small
Software
computer
updates,
that's
yeah.
on your hip. A new software firmware update comes out, and there's a lot of new features that come out with that. It's just a matter of pushing a lot of that out through over the air or potentially touching a radio, but not necessarily a hardware refresh.
Right. All righty.
Just generally, when you're doing the coverage testing, when you tile, the maps and all of that, does it make a difference on the weather conditions on a given day?
Weather conditions have a little bit to do with it. We actually saw some of that in microwave testing. We were doing a lot of that during the summer, and you can see clouds coming and you can actually see some variability in it, but they model for all that. They plan for all that through engineering. The biggest impactor in coverage testing, one of our things we really had to rush in September was leaves. We need to complete coverage testing with leaves on the trees. Once the leaves start coming down, that changes your RF patterns. So we were under pressure and actually worked through a couple of weekends to ensure that we were completed with coverage testing before the leaves came off the trees.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That's all taken into account. If you don't want to say it works on a sunny day, but
It works differently on a sunny day, but it does work.
Well, thank you, Mr. Plowman. I know that's been a lot of work, but you're very enthusiastic about it, and I'm very excited to see how this works out.
So am I.
Congratulations,
Keep
and
these,
thanks
right?
to everybody who's worked on that. Oh, we don't get to keep those? No, I'm kidding.
Thanks for your diligence.
And Madam Mayor, I
Yes.
also want to thank Mr. Plowman.
Uh-huh.
He has put in his staff, I don't know how many hours.
I can't imagine, yeah.
And I'm
Uh-huh.
just so pleased with how Mr. Plowman has taken the leadership on this. And I
Mhm.
just want to thank him personally for that. I don't think this could have been as successful as it was
Yeah.
without his work and his staff's work. So
And
thank
it's,
you.
it's potentially,
Thank
it's
you.
life-saving work.
It
So
absolutely
really,
is.
truly, thank you so
So-
much.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Madam Mayor, before we go on to the next item, we got an email saying there were audio issues earlier in the meeting, and then I just checked with someone that I knew was listening, and they said there weren't issues, but now it's coming in and out, getting worse. So I just wanted to check with Mr. Knight to make sure from his end, everything was.
Go.
everything looks normal over here, but I will follow up. Let me see what I can do here.
Not the radios.
Thank you, Council Campbell.
Hope not. Enhance.
All righty, moving on to our final item of the work session, a briefing and update of license plate reader flock technology. Ms. Beauregard.
Yes, it was about a year ago, Police Chief Jim Williams was before you talking about this technology. And he's here this evening just to provide an update, of course, answer any questions. He's going to be talking about some things regarding the system and actually showing you some visuals as well. So yeah, I'd like to introduce Chief Williams to the podium.
come on up. Good evening, sir. Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Mayor Edwards, members of council, thank you so much for giving me a little bit of time this evening. If I could, just before we start, I could echo what the city manager said about Kurt and all the work that he's done. And in addition to doing all of his regular IT stuff,
Yeah.
this radio project. And to put it in perspective, the radio, when our officers get out of the car, like that's their lifeline.
Yeah.
If they can't reach
Right.
dispatch and they're in trouble, then bad things happen. And these things happen all over the country. And we've been kind of subpar radio for a really long time. And we're super excited at the new system. But I know Kurt's worked super hard on that, and all the regular IT stuff just kind of kept on coming. But he's been working really hard on this. So we're super excited. I know the sheriff's the same way.
Yeah.
We've just not had a great radio system for a while. So kudos to Kurt.
Great.
The topic tonight, we talk about automated license plate readers, or ALPRs, if we use that. We've actually used ALPRs for 15 or 16 years. Originally, we got them on cars, and one or two cars would drive around, and if they would hit something, then we see there's a stolen car, missing person, something like that. But the new technology that came out recently, and Flock is just a brand name. Flock is one of there's others, but Flock is the vendor that we decided to use. A little over a year ago, we put stationary cameras, stationary ALPRs up in 6 locations in the city to see, how it would help us with solving crime and things like that. And then, of course, there was a bit of a, as they started gaining momentum throughout the state, then the General Assembly said, well, we need to look at this and limit it. So they actually created code section 2.25517, which gave us guidance. And we love guidance because we're law enforcement. We like to follow the law. So they tell us we can only use ALPR data for specific authorized purposes, such as criminal investigations when we have reasonable suspicion of a crime, locating missing endangered persons, including those associated with human trafficking, receiving alerts for stolen vehicles, stolen license plates, or outstanding warrants. This kind of standard before the code came in, and kind of the industry standard was keeping the data for 30 days. And Virginia Code section said you can keep it for 21 days. So we keep it for 21 days. We cannot sell the ALPR data. There's a lot of restrictions. We can only give it to other law enforcement agencies, and then they can only use it for authorized purposes only. We are not allowed under any circumstances to use ALPR systems to track individuals engaged in lawful activities or based on their First Amendment rights. And then annually, we have to report to the Virginia State Police. And anything that we don't do, if we do any of these things, then we're subject to a Class 1 misdemeanor. So we, as the officers or the administrators, can be prosecuted. And it's like as I reviewed the code a little bit earlier, we also, if we used it erroneously or illegally, then we wouldn't be able to use it in a criminal case, even if it was germane. It was kind of like the exclusionary rule. But how have we done? I wasn't sure sometimes we get new technology and we think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, because that's what the vendors always tell us. Oh, this is going to solve all your problems, right? And then we've got to be good stewards of taxpayers' money. And so we evaluate it. And a lot of times we're like, yeah, this just isn't working out well. So a year in, we kind of went back and looked at cases that we made. And I want to kind of give you an idea of some of the cases. In February of this year, there was a suspect that was going around stealing from donation boxes at the local gas station, sheets and things like that. It might be like muscular dystrophy, or it might be like somebody's house burned down and, put money in. Well, this individual was going in and helping himself to the money that had been donated to these folks. And the cameras at Sheets saw him get in a vehicle, but only had a partial license number. But since he was at Sheets and we had an ALPR nearby, we very quickly got the full license plate number and got a hold of the suspect, got some of the money back, and then cleared a number of these cases. He wasn't just doing it at our locality; he was doing it in Augusta County, and so we cleared a number of larcenies in Augusta County and Staunton. Also in February, we got a stolen pickup truck. in the city that we didn't know about, but we got a hit on it and it came out. And when we got the individual in the stolen pickup truck, he had a lot of other stolen property from break-ins and larcenies that he had done. So we cleared other cases in Stanton and Augusta County. July of this year, we received an alert on a stolen vehicle from Waynesboro and located the subject at the Budget Inn. Now, all these things, you know, it's not totally real time. We'll get the alert and I'll show you how that works in a few minutes, goes to email, but then it takes human capital, right? The officers then have to figure out, where is this person, right? And so in this case, the officer located him at the Budget Inn, and as luck would have it, you know, checked with the folks and they go, oh yeah, the guy in that truck is in room 5. So pretty easy capture and a recovery of a stolen vehicle from an adjoining jurisdiction. In July and August, we had a subject going around passing counterfeit $100 bills with the same serial number on it. And by using the ALPR data from here, other jurisdictions, we found out that he wasn't just in Stanton, he was in Stanton for a very short period of time, and then he moved on. And so ultimately, we didn't spend a great deal of time investigating it as a Stanton crime. We were able to turn it over to the Secret Service because it was like a multi-jurisdictional and actually like different folks, different jurisdictions, both in and out of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And if you did not know that, the Secret Service, that's one of the things that they do, in addition to protecting dignitaries, is they're responsible for counterfeit currency. Shooting suspect we had in August of 2025. I'm not going to go into great details. The case is still pending in court, hadn't been to the preliminary hearing yet, but we were able to identify someone very quickly. And then as public safety is like super important, right? We also knew, because we're connected to other cameras, that within a few hours later, the suspect was in Tidewater. So there was no impending threat that he was going to shoot anyone else because he wasn't here. And so the ALPRs let us do that, let us know that. In August of 2025, we had, and one of probably the biggest nuisance crimes that we have in the city are larcenies from vehicles. And they are just a scourge. And when they hit your neighborhood, and I can tell you, they got a couple of years ago, they hit our neighborhood, and it was one night my wife decided not to lock the car, and they got like a speaker out of her car among, you know, because they'll hit 40, 50, 60, 80 cars, 100 cars a night. Well, in August, they hit an area on the south side of town, and our investigators were able to locate a picture of a suspect vehicle on like a Ring camera or a Blink camera, no license or anything like that. But we were then able to go to one of our ALPRs and match that vehicle with a license plate number, which then gave us a suspect, another jurisdiction, and we cleared, I think, 30 or 40 larcenies and got property back. In a case that we simply, if we would not have had this technology, we would have not have made that case because you're just looking at a vehicle. I don't love the term law enforcement because it kind of limits us. What we do is policing, which is a whole lot more than law enforcement. That's a minor thing we do. We've got a lot of things that we do. Community caregiver is one of the things that we do. And in September of this year, you know, missing people, right? We're not enforcing laws, right? We're just, if somebody's run away, if they're missing, we're trying to help them out. Well, in September of this year, an 87-year-old man took off from Delaware in a car. Parents had no idea, or parents, his children, that would be cool. What are you doing with the car, Sonny? The children had no idea where the 87-year-old was. Had some cognitive issues, but he didn't have like a formal dementia diagnosis or anything. Just gone. They went to the local police department. He was entered as a missing endangered person because he had medical issues. And where does he end up? But according to our ALPRs, he ends up in the city of Staunton.
Wow.
Again, one of our patrol officers locates him at a gas station on Greenville Avenue. A short time later, diabetic, hasn't had anything to eat, got damage to his car. He hit something. We don't know where, what. He doesn't know where he is, doesn't know really what he's doing. But we pick him up. Our officers feed him because he needed a meal. And we sat with him and took care of him for about 4 hours while his children, his adult children, drove down from Delaware and picked him up, who were extremely grateful, and then, you know, towed the car in and got it back. But for this technology, who knows where he would have ended up? Could there have been other victims? Like, we won't know that, but this is just another case of, you know, how it works and how it works pretty well. These are not all. They're just a sample of cases that we've made, and how we've had some success with it. So far, we're pretty happy with it. I want to kind of show you how it works. Josh, if you could go to the first slide. So this is what the screen looks like if our people are like looking to conduct a search. And so it's like anything else. If you were trying to book, you know, a room or flight from Travelocity or whatever, like, you know, you put the information in. So you got to put in what you're looking for, license plate, Virginia, whatever else. And you got a minimum amount and then you push it. If you go to the next one, this one should, if you can play it, it's just, it'll take about a minute and it'll kind of show you. Yeah, so it should be running now. So it should populate. This is Sergeant Shiflett just kind of putting in an example. And then normally that, instead of test, that would have a case number if we're looking for a case. And we're just using one of our police cars. And he's putting, you know, the last month, but you can only get 21 days because the system on that 22nd day dumps it off. And then he clicks search and then boom, these are the 5 or 6 times that vehicle has been seen. And then he'll click on a couple of them. You can kind of see what it looks like. The top one there should pop up and show you, all right, can't see who's in the car, what they're doing, but you can see that car with that license was at that location at that time. So it's an investigative lead. It's nothing more than that. It doesn't, you know, we couldn't tell if it was Counselor Shepard or me driving the vehicle, right? You don't know. You just know that car was at that point, right there. So that's what it looks like. And a little map over on the side that kind of shows where it was.
So is it always rear facing? I didn't see any front facing cameras, but I would imagine they have to be some front facing. Because
Yeah, I think sometimes they are, depending on the angle. I mean, if the cars come the other direction,
Yeah,
it might be.
right.
But it also, it's not, 100%. When you get in a lot of traffic and,
Mhm,
and, you
yeah.
know, sometimes it'll just miss a car. Sorry, could you go next, Josh? So this is what the alert looks like. And so it comes out, this was an actual case. This TAB 2177 was a stolen license plate. And it came out and alerted us, and I'll show you, it comes with an email alert, and all our officers will get this and say, hey, TAB 2177, and this is the car that it's on, not the car it's supposed to be on. All right, it was stolen from a different car, and that's the location that it was seen. Shortly after that, I think 20 minutes later, Sergeant Cook came across the vehicle, did a traffic stop, got the stolen license plate back, and arrested the subject for stealing the car, which he'd stolen off of a parking lot. And then that's just what the email. So our officers are sitting there, they have their phones or their mobile data terminals or whatever, and then boom, they'll get an alert. Same type thing. I actually tried to pull the one from the 87-year-old man, but it was past the 21 days. So all that's just gone because, you know, we can't keep it. And so.
Can I
there it
jump in
was.
with a question?
Yes.
So on the first example, when you did a search, I think one of the fields was offense or something. I don't know what the police terminology is. How would it know if there was an offense associated with a license plate? Is that something that would
That's
have been?
that's us putting it in there. Like we're looking for an armed robbery suspect or something like that.
Right,
The
but how
main-
would the system know that?
Oh, it wouldn't. I think that's just for our data so that it knows, like when we're doing an alert, then when an audit, I'll show you the audits here in a minute. So it will show like what we were looking. So it'll show like the police report number, which is usually the year 2025-2127 or whatever. And then what we're looking for, stolen vehicle, armed robbery, shooting or whatever. That's more for the audit trail than it's not going to search for an armed robber or whatever the offense is.
So
It's-
is this data linked with another database like NCIS, your big police?
NCIC,
data?
no,
NCIS.
it's not. No, it's not.
So it's a standalone system. It's not.
It is, yeah. And we have to just go in and do whatever. And then the next is just what the audit, and we do this periodically, at least once a month. And we go in to see who's accessing. You can see the top one is Sergeant Shiflett, where he ran that one just for this presentation. And then the rest of them on this audit trail, Officer Khan and Officer Klein were, and you can see the offense reports. And then I think, doesn't it say there somewhere like the reason stolen vehicle? So they put the report number and then the reason that they're searching. So missing person, robbery suspect, investigation of larceny, whatever it is. Chief,
So I do have a question because I'm trying to figure out how this works. So the readers actually are taking license plate.
yeah, they're taking pictures.
numbers?
They're taking pictures of cars as they drive by.
Okay,
And so like 99.9% of this is never seen,
okay.
right? You and I can drive by them every day and we will never see yours or mine
Unless.
unless
the
somebody
license plate.
says, unless somebody says, hey, this vehicle was involved in something, and then we look for it,
Okay,
right?
all right.
There's some kind of optical character recognition where it takes the picture and it converts that into a string that goes into the database.
I think that's
Tape
right.
it in. And
I think that's right. Yes. Yeah. So just quickly, and I'll open it up for questions. We've tried to be as transparent as we possibly can with this since we started it. We've updated information on our website. We demonstrated to Citizens University the other night. They were pretty receptive, and it's just been a pretty good system overall. We're pretty pleased. We're actually looking at the potential of getting 3 more of the cameras. There's a grant opportunity from Virginia State Police, Help Eliminate Auto Theft, where they will pay 100% cameras. They'll give you up to 10,000 and the cameras are $3,000 a piece. So that would give us a little bit more coverage, probably all the coverage that we would need. And
how many do we have now?
We've got 6. And we think if we go up to 9, we'll probably be pretty much everything that we need. But we're pretty excited about it. And I think it's actually exceeded my expectations. When they first came to me, I'm always I've been doing this for a real long time. And so it's like, okay, this is the next greatest thing. But it really has actually been helpful. There's been a number of cases that I think we would not have made but for this technology, which is a good thing.
Chief,
So what questions can I answer? Yes.
well, the audit screen, I mean, that shows, who's done it, but I mean, is that everyone that accesses it? You said in one case in particular that you got hit knowing that a car that was here, was now in Tidewater and there, but how did you know what another community was hitting? Were you able to open that up to it? Were you?
No.
No, so we did a search. We did a statewide search on that car of that suspect. And then we got a report back that said, this vehicle at 1:20, I'm just making this up, at
But you
1:22
can
PM.
search in other communities.
Oh, yes,
There,
yes.
can you?
So that are part of that flock network. I think there are 269 cameras.
I
or
would
something.
recommend that everybody go to your portal, the transparency portal. It breaks it down so easily. And Vice Mayor Arrowood, there's a list of all the participating localities. And so if you put in the license plate and it's dinged, I don't know, it triggered, then the other localities that participate, external organizations with access, they will contact you. You'll
Right.
get that email.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right, but I mean, one of the concerns that people are talking about is that,
Oh.
Other entities are able to use our system to search for license plates and all that, and it doesn't come up in our audit.
Oh, no, we can audit. We can audit that as well. And we did that recently to see, and went through line by line to see what the other jurisdictions were using it for.
You can see every single access of this system.
Yes.
And without fail, there's no, federal level or anything like that that has quiet access.
Now,
to it.
according to the vendor, if we trust the vendor, this is our data. We own the data and we're controlling the data.
Okay.
So do you do the audit of who's actually searching? Like you have Officer Shiflett and Khan and Klein. Do you do the audit to make sure that, because that was one of the questions too, that somebody will go in and just if somebody was having maybe odds against somebody.
Right.
And want to misuse this system for their own personal reasons. Do you go in and make sure that everything that's in the search is what it needs to be in the search?
Yeah, we go behind it to see. I can't tell you that we go through every single one, to make sure. It would be pretty hard for you to hide it, if you were trying to look up, an ex-wife and see where their car was or whatever. Because we're checking to make sure that number coincides with a stolen vehicle report and things like that or whatever. But we haven't had any problems. It's been, they're using it for what they're supposed to be using it for.
Well, that was just some of the, concerns.
I understand. And human beings are the ones that are it's not gonna be the data. It's not gonna be the computer that makes it. It's gonna be a human being that does it. But if they get charged with a class 1 misdemeanor, and if I fire them and they're decertified as a police officer, this is a career ender here.
Yeah.
To try and find somebody's name to ask them out for a date, or to try and find out, who's parked in their ex-spouse's, parking lot. So I'm not saying it can't be done or won't be done, couldn't be done, but the stakes are pretty high.
Chief, I have a question. You said earlier that other law enforcement agencies can request information from you guys and you can give it to them. Do we have, who gets to decide what information that Stanton Police shares with outside law enforcement agencies?
Well, it's just the date is what it is. So if they're on our list, then
Yeah, but what if they're not on the list? Like, what if it's
then they don't get it.
Right,
By
and
state
that's
law, right?
and that's by state law, or is that in writing, or is it just your
I think
decision?
I believe that's state code, yeah. And it's not to be shared outside of Virginia. And the system, and that's one of the things, if you would decide to lock it down and say we were gonna only allow it in Stanton, then it would be helpful, but it wouldn't be that helpful, because then when the car goes into Charlottesville, we wouldn't know. If the car was in Tidewater, we wouldn't know, or whatever. So
Chief Williams, I just
Yes.
want to go back again to your transparency portal. The external aid organizations that have access are right here, and I'm looking at Alexandria PD, different sheriff's offices, and so it's other localities like ours that are all
Yes.
participating.
right.
And so you have access to theirs,
Right.
which is how the person who left here and went to Tidewater was eventually caught.
Right.
I also see that Counselor Overholter asked about the NCIS. There, it says, I see here that it's a hot list. There's a hot list, policy hot list. Oh, wait.
I think that's the same as the alert, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So if you get an alert from
Mhm.
one of those external
Right.
organizations, it comes across us.
Right.
right.
Everything, and all that's vetted from the Virginia State Police. So NCIC is the National Crime Information Center.
Right.
VCIN is the Virginia Crime Information Network.
Right.
And those are, a lot of times people think of the DMV files. And so
Mhm.
if you got that license plate, ABC 1234, and it comes back to James Williams and Jennifer Williams, or home address on such and such car or whatever. And then when that's in those files. And then if that car then gets entered because there's someone missing in that car, or someone is a runaway, or someone is wanted, then those are the hits that then get generated in this system. Just like the 87-year-old from Delaware, he was listed as missing, endangered because of his health. And so that's, lucky for us, it could have turned out a lot worse. So that we found him, but yeah, so that's kind of the crux of how it works.
And Mayor Edwards, I want to reiterate that our city's flock transparency portal is available on our city website under the police department's website. And it also has the latest and greatest license plate reader policy between us and the provider at the bottom for anyone to read in specifics that reflects the current state code changes.
Just to clarify for everyone and the citizens who've reached out multiple times and stuff, even though I've read the transparency thing. So I just want to clarify, like, so ICE could contact you for information, like to say, hey, we need to run some, like, we would like you to look up this from the flat cameras. Do you have to turn it over to them?
That would depend on what ICE was doing. If it was something civil, then no. If it was criminal and they came in with a criminal warrant, then maybe. But that would be a legal question that we would vet. But the purpose is not for immigration enforcement.
Yes. But so it would depend. So they would have to have a warrant or some type of legal.
They would.
Okay, thank you.
Just like the person that stole the license plate off the back of my wife's car.
That was yours?
They just had to, all they had to do was wait 30 days and then they were good for a year.
22.
Yeah, that's an important point to return to, just 21 days of data retention, so that.
Right. And it's all over the map. A lot of states have no, so they can keep it for 20 years. New Hampshire has 3 minutes, I believe, they told us. So, but I think 21 days is a pretty good amount of time, because we generally have a pretty good idea if someone's been involved in a crime. We've developed a suspect within, that's 3 weeks. And if not, then shame on us. And then that data is gone. But to your point, where else has you driven it? I mean, it's still going to be an NCIC for a couple of years. All right. But if it hadn't been picked up on a camera in 21 days, or if it was picked up on a camera 2 weeks ago and we didn't find it, again, a lot of this is, this is not totally like real time. This is an investigative tool in most cases. And then we got to rely, it's a force multiplier. We're having a hard time finding cops and hiring cops. We're 6 people short. And this makes us a little more efficient, right? But Sergeant Cook had to find that car just because it was driving in the city. It's a big city, right? How many square miles we got? Like, he had to find it. And the gentleman from Delaware, we kept, and the officers were doing good for them. They were doing due diligence. They were checking parking lots and things like that. So it's not a total slam dunk, even with the larceny I was talking about, the 40 plus, there were a lot of other investigative tools that went into that, but it certainly helped knowing what car to start looking for, right?
Chief Williams, we have a few more minutes, so I have one more question. Is there one? Okay. So Counselor Park was responding to the questions that folks were sending us. So I'll add one more question that folks have been asking us, and that's about surveillance, the feeling that some people feel like they're being surveyed throughout the day. Could you tell the difference, explain the difference between having stationary cameras and having the ability or the lack of ability to be surveyed?
Sure.
To
Well,
survey
we're all,
people?
we're all carrying our cell phones around. So
right.
we are in fact being surveilled. And
Mhm.
if you don't believe it, just, let's talk about mattresses and then go on your break and see how many pop-ups you get ads for mattresses, right? But the city is not surveilling anyone, right? With these cameras. These cameras, again, I'll reiterate, 99.9% plus of this data is never going to get seen, right? I mean, you can see a limited number of searches. If we have a reason to search under the law, right, then we're going to search. We don't care, if, and we can't care, and the code is clear, like somebody doing something lawful, right? It doesn't matter if every Friday night my car's parked in front of the green room, right? We could probably find that out here, and I could tell you that happens fairly often, but that's not the point, right? We don't spy on our citizens. That's not what we're going to do. That's not what we're about.
Mhm.
It's this investigative tool so that, when these hits come through, we know, and then it's just a little bit of help. Like I said, We didn't get a license plate number, but we got, a blue Maverick pickup truck, right? We can put that in, and then if it hit one of the cameras close to where, then maybe we've got something. But again, you got to develop all that. Like, we don't know who's driving it,
Yeah.
right? When it was driven, so all that other investigative stuff takes place to develop a suspect and move forward with a criminal case. So we've no interest, nor do we have the time to be surveilling our citizens. Not going to happen.
Thank you, Chief Williams. Did you want to follow up anyone? We bet about 1 minute.
Well, I mean, if you're on a
Thank you.
public road, yeah, if you're on a public road with your registered vehicle,
That's correct.
that's all public. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
anyone can look at you at any time, and
Right.
you're registered with the Department of Motor Vehicles, and as is the description of your vehicle. And so this is not going into your garage and looking for anything like that. So it's.
No, and we don't know, Vice Mayor. I mean, so if we take a picture of your car going down Beverly Street, we don't know that I'm not driving.
Right.
Right? I mean, or any one of us. Like, so there's a huge piece of this, but at the bottom, you're right. At the very crux of it, it is taking a still photograph of your vehicle license plate on the public highway when it's being driven. That's what it is. So,
Thank you, Chief Williams.
thank you.
And I appreciate everything on the website, and thank you, Counselor Campbell, for pointing that out, and for Counselor Park for asking questions about, and Counselor Woods for asking citizen questions. And I know you're always available also to
Oh, absolutely.
citizens.
Absolutely. Yes. If anybody
Terrific.
has questions, they can come in. I actually met with a citizen this morning about this very topic.
Perfect.
All right.
Well, thank you, and
Thank
and
you
you
all.
have a good evening.
Thank you.
So on to our final item of tonight's work session. I will now entertain a motion to enter a closed session. Is
Mayor Edwards.
Counselor Woods?
I move to enter into a closed session for the discussion of the performance of the city manager pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1.
Thank you, Counselor Woods. Is there a second?
Second?
Do we have any discussion? Mr. Blair, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. We are now in closed session. Hope to see all of you back here at 7 PM. Thank you. I will now entertain a motion to reconvene in an open meeting.
Mayor Edwards,
Counselor Woods?
I move that council reconvene in an open meeting and certify to the best of each member's knowledge that only lawfully exempted public business matters were discussed and that only public business matters as identified in the closed meeting motion were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Counselor Overholter, is there any discussion? Mr. Blair, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. The work session is now adjourned. And I'd like to call the October 9th, 2025 regular meeting of the Staunton City Council to order. Please stand as you are able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening and welcome, everyone. Appreciate your being here this evening. I have the honor of doing the invocation this evening. Last week, I had the privilege of joining a gathering of women at Second Presbyterian Church for dinner and conversation around the ancient African way of living known as Ubuntu. The belief that I am because we are. This philosophy encourages living communally with empathy, forgiveness, and solidarity. Across the nation, people are coming together, searching for understanding and ways to stand against what feels like an increasing wave of cruelty, incivility, and hostility, and to protect themselves and one another. In the spirit of Ubuntu, and in keeping with the teachings of faith and the founding ideals of our nation, I offer this invocation tonight as we recognize October as National Bullying Prevention Month. Let's pause to reflect on a timeless truth. Our lives are woven together in a single human fabric. According to the Ubuntu way of living in community, individuals share resources or help a neighbor in need, welcome strangers into the community, and make decisions that consider the common good and not just personal gain. My own faith echoes this in its call to love our neighbor as ourselves, to see God in every person, and to carry each other's burdens in order to fulfill the law of Christ. And the founding ideals of our nation affirm the same principle, that all people are created equal, and that the rights to life, to liberty, and the pursuit of happiness belong to every human being. These shared convictions from Africa's wisdom, from Christ's teaching, and from America's foundational promise stand firmly against cruelty, prejudice, and indifference. They call us instead to kindness, to empathy, and to the work of building and protecting an inclusive community through understanding and respect. As we observe National Bullying Prevention Month, may we rededicate ourselves to speaking with self-awareness, to listening with humility, seeking to understand and acting with courage in defense of those who are vulnerable or alone. Now let us pray. Creator God, I pray those who have been hurt by bullying or cruelty in any form are healed, strengthened, and restored. And I pray for those who bully and hurt others, that the trauma, insecurity, or the sick need for power that must surely control them is diminished, so their hearts are transformed towards peace and compassion. Father, you love both the bullied and the bully, the sinner and the saint alike. We are threads of one human fabric bound together in your image. Help us search our hearts and cleanse them of prejudice, anger, and fear, and replace them with love and acceptance. Teach us to live gently with one another, supporting one another, safely, justly, and in peace. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. We are very, very honored to have with us this evening a special guest. We have Brigadier General Jurek from Mary Baldwin University, and we have the 2026 senior class of the VWIL program. So we're starting out this evening's meeting with a proclamation. I think it would be nice if General Jurek and the cadets came forward so you can see. Come on, ladies, go. Be proud of yourselves. Yeah. Welcome. Oh, if you want to, okay. Welcome. Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome. Congratulations.
Okay, yes, we're on.
Congratulations.
Good to see you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hi.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Hi.
Congratulations.
Hi, and hello. Good to
Congratulations.
see you. Hi. It's nice to see you.
Congratulations.
Hello.
Remember the first
Congrats.
graduate, the program.
Hello.
Congratulations.
Very nice to see you.
Congratulations.
It's
Congratulations.
Hello.
Congrats.
Good to see you. Hi there. Well, glad you're here. Hi, thank you. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty, let me go ahead and read this proclamation. This proclamation is for the Virginia Women's Institute for Leadership's 30th anniversary. Whereas the Virginia Women's Institute for Leadership at Mary Baldwin University was established in 1995 as the nation's only all-female cadet corps, offering a rigorous program that integrates military training, academic excellence, physical fitness, and leadership development within a liberal arts environment. And whereas VWIL was created in partnership with the Commonwealth of Virginia and the Virginia Military Institute, affirming a commitment to expand leadership opportunities for women in the military and beyond. And whereas VWIL has graduated nearly 600 cadets who have gone on to serve with distinction in the U.S. Armed Forces, public services, business, education, and civic life, carrying forward the program's mission of developing citizen leaders of character. And whereas VWIL cadets uphold the Corps' values of honor, integrity, discipline, and service, and have consistently distinguished themselves through Reserve Officer Training Corps commissions, community engagement, academic achievement, and global leadership opportunities. And whereas VWIL's commitment to holistic development has fostered a residential campus culture where cadets thrive academically, physically, and personally, contributing to Mary Baldwin University's mission to prepare inclusive leaders for a diverse and changing world. And whereas VWIL celebrates 3 decades of excellence in 2025, marking 30 years of empowering women to lead with confidence, courage, and compassion, and honoring the legacy of its cadets, commandants, and the family and the many faculty, staff, and alumni who have shaped the program's success. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by Staunton City Council that the city recognizes the 30th anniversary of the Virginia Women's Institute for Leadership. Thank you. All right, and congratulations. I can go.
So.
All right, we'll go 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Awesome, thank you.
Mayor and the council members, I just wanted to take a minute to be very brief with you. On behalf of Mary Baldwin University and our alum, we're honored for this proclamation. I want you to know that these cadets represent over 1,382 students who have stepped across a green line and committed themselves to be better every day and to dedicate themselves to furthering the mission of Mary Baldwin and the Virginia Women's Institute for Leadership. And I would say they also dedicate themselves selflessly to further the mission of the city of Staunton. And they dedicated 2 weeks ago over, I think it was close to 270 hours for Queen City District Manager, standing in the rain, never a complaint, nor one I heard, to help all those guests find places to park safely. They did a great job with that, and they look forward to marching and leading the city's Veterans Day Parade. We're recognizing so many veterans in this area, and the holiday parade. It's our honor to be a part of this, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, pleasure. Thank you all. We'll be back anytime.
That Veterans Day Parade is Saturday, November 8th, starting at 11:11 a.m.
It is.
It is. Excellent, thank you. So mayor's report and other counselors' report, it was a fantastic Queen City Mischief and Magic. The rain did not matter. I was out there for about 12 hours, volunteering in different places. I just can't say enough about the organizers, about the volunteers. Obviously, you see the whole community came together to help. I met people from, I don't know, 10, 15 states. One couple who just rolled into town to drop their daughter off for a wedding. They didn't know it was even happening. They were in their upper 60s and they were like, we are having a ball. We're not leaving. We're coming back. We're moving here. So it just was, that's how it happens. And so it was just a fantastic event. And I'm sure Ms. Beauregard will mention all of the departments who had a hand in making that. Was so fantastic. I wanted to mention that I was able to attend a soft opening of a new food pantry at Ferrier Court. Counselor Woods had announced this, I think at our last meeting, that the staff there are taking donations for residents at Ferrier Court. And it just was fantastic. Ms. Susan Venable at the Staunton Redevelopment and Housing Authority worked with partners like Blue Ridge Area Food Bank and Project Grows, and to make this labor of love possible. I know a couple other of our staff, Josh was there, Ms. Beauregard, Amanda was there. So it was very well attended. So it's wonderful to see the community helping one another. And with Counselor Woods, I was able to volunteer at the third annual Give Back Day. We were all very, very busy that day. It is a big day where folks in need show up and they can get all kinds of hygiene products, a bag lunch, a lot of different items that they need. And I have the joy of cutting hair using my amateur hair cutting skills. I gave 10 haircuts that day with Philly, if you all know the hairstylist, hair cutter Philly. What's his real name? Andrew? Well, he goes by Philly. Anyway, so it's a terrific day. It was Todd Dunning, Pastor Todd Dunning, his ministry Nickels and Dimes, First Church of God in Christ. And I don't know how many people came through there, Counselor Woods, but it was a lot. A lot of folks showed up and gave away a bunch of bikes. People really, really in need and got a lot of things they needed. Also, I was able to go to Augusta Street United Methodist Church, I guess about a week and a half ago, to attend a fundraiser for the Shea House. If you all are unfamiliar with the Shea House, it's that beautiful old Victorian, folk Victorian, built in 1876, right across from the post office on Augusta Street. The Shea House is being renovated, long overdue renovation, and we had great food, and I love a QR code, so I've made another QR code to go over the other QR code. So if you want to give toward the the renovation of the Shea House, it's a historically Black cemetery. Thank you. I'm losing words. Cemetery. So if you want to give, it goes through the Community Foundation, and there's a QR code that you can probably hit from space, and it's right there on the wall. Any other, and I just saw it's all white now.
Yeah,
It's crazy. Yeah, the progress is incredible. So would anyone else like to add to the great things that are happening around town?
Mayor Edwards, I would, but it seems like we was at the same.
We were at the same, yeah. I thought, okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
she was taking pictures of me cutting hair, but anyone else?
I, along with you and I think others, volunteered at Mischief and Magic, and it was great fun. I guess we'll get a report on the numbers, but it seemed like there was great participation and engagement. Got the thrill of seeing the 611 steam engine come into Staunton Station. That's running again through October and is a real draw for our area too. Lots of people interested in seeing that and riding on it. And our own Virginia Scenic Railway is the partner in that excursion. This morning, I went to a performance of Romeo and Juliet at the American Shakespeare Center. It was invitational to participate with high school students, including Staunton High and students from all over the state. And there's a school board member with me, and I think we enjoyed watching the students' reactions as much as watching the play, just to see their faces light up and to experience, for many of them, would be the first time seeing Shakespeare enacted on stage by a incredible world-class troupe. And it's another point of engagement with Staunton, exposure to what makes Staunton really distinctive and wonderful in our arts community. So that was great fun. I toured, I think, with just about all of you, the new JDR courthouse on West Beverly Street, which is scheduled to begin operation in December. And the facility really balances nicely, I think, aesthetics and security. So they're big windows, lots of natural light, wood features inside, but also lots of security, many, many cameras, big brick walls to protect the judges' parking. So it's a great facility. And the overall property includes a huge expanse of pavement, and I think offers many opportunities for new green spaces and development. I look forward to the master plan that's coming that will describe new possibilities for that prime property on West Beverly Street.
I guess you missed seeing me at the production this morning.
Oh, were you there? Okay, good.
Sitting right next.
He was
On
so-
the same
he was so
road.
engaged in
I know,
that.
right?
That's the blessings
Yeah.
of age. Forgetting things,
But
forgetting
if
words.
you have not seen Romeo and Juliet, I suggest that you go. That
All
is a
right.
great,
Mhm.
kids really enjoyed it. I think we, not just the kids, we all enjoyed it. It was adults there too, so we all enjoyed it.
Excellent. I hope to see it soon. Wonderful. If no one has any other comments, we will move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Blair, do you have an
do.
addition to the consent agenda?
I do.
All right.
And item A3,
Hmm.
The facade and renovation grant incentive. Counselors Overholzer and Campbell have asked that the sentence exterior improvements includes landscaping improvements be added. And that's just, again, for the facade grant where it had said improvements. It had said exterior improvements and limited interior improvements. This is just a clarifying sentence to say that the exterior improvements include landscaping improvements. And
Anybody have any comment or problem? Thank you, Mr. Blair. We'll continue with the consent agenda. Right. Per procedure memorandum number 14 is the policy of City Council to have routine, non-controversial items placed on a consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be voted on in one motion. If separate discussion of an item is requested by any member of council, then that item will be removed and considered separately at the end of the regular meeting agenda. Do any council members wish to remove any items to be placed at the end of the regular meeting agenda for separate consideration? Hearing none, I will consider a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda with the modification presented by Mr. Blair.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Counselor Wood. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Blair, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. Moving on to item B, we have a public hearing and consideration of a request by Paul J. Wright Jr. to rezone 1004 Seth Drive from B1C Local Business District Conditional to R3C Medium Density Residential District Conditional. Ms. Beauregard.
Rodney Rose is here to present this item this evening.
Good evening, Mr. Rhodes. Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council members. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. The request before you tonight is to rezone a 2.7 acre parcel that is undeveloped and is part of the Middlebrook Park Plan Development, which was approved by City Council in 2003. From a planning perspective, this rezoning request seems to check all the boxes. First, the property does not appear to be suitable for commercial development. It has no direct access to Middlebrook Avenue. There's a little thing called Lewis Creek that's between it and the road. And also because of Lewis Creek being there, a portion of this property is in the floodplain. So it's not very conducive for commercial development.
Right.
It is compatible, the proposed rezoning is compatible with adjoining uses and zoning. Adjoining uses are, adjoining property are zoned residential and have been developed with various forms of residential use such as single-family homes, apartments, multifamily units. This proposed rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan's future land use map, which designates this area for medium-density residential. Up to this point, we have not received any public opposition to this proposed rezoning. Notices were sent to all the adjoining property owners. This was, both the public hearings were advertised in the local paper, and no one spoke at the Plan Commission's public hearing last month. And at the conclusion of that public hearing, the Plan Commission unanimously recommended approval of this rezoning. I'd be glad to take any questions you have at this time or after you conduct the public hearing.
Any questions for Mr. Rhodes? All righty, well, we'll have the public hearing then. Thank you, sir. In a moment, I will open the public hearing. This portion of the meeting is set aside for council to hear comments from citizens and others on the specific topic listed on the agenda. When it's your turn to speak, please begin by stating your name and address for the record. We ask that you keep your remarks to 5 minutes or less. When your 5 minutes have passed, I will let you know that your time has expired. For those joining us on Zoom, please raise your hand now if you wish to speak on this public hearing item. You'll have the opportunity to participate later during other public hearings and during matters from the public. Once everyone who wishes to speak has had a chance to do so, I will close the public hearing. At this time, I'll open the public hearing, so if you wish to speak, please come forward to the podium. And we will alternate between those physically present and those on the Zoom platform. Would anyone like to speak on this particular item? Do we have any hands raised, Mr. Knight?
Madam Mayor, there are no hands raised.
Would anyone like to speak? The public hearing is closed. Is the applicant here? Would the applicant like to speak?
Do not see the applicant.
Okay,
And it's Bill Moore was representing the applicant, the
Okay.
property owner. I do not see him in
All righty.
attendance.
thank you, Mr. Rhodes. Then I will entertain a motion.
Mayor Edwards.
Counselor Wood, yes, ma'am.
Oh, don't you have to come out? Did you come out of?
I closed it. Thank you.
I move
love
that
it.
council adopt the ordinance and approve the conditional rezoning as recommended by the planning commission.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Blair, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Overholtzer,
Aye.
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Blair, and thank you, Mr. Rhodes. Next on our agenda is a presentation of resolution for establishment of the City of Staunton Housing Commission. Ms. Beauregard.
Becca Joyce, our housing planner and grants coordinator, is here this evening
Excellent.
to present a proposed resolution to establish a housing commission. This is just for discussion tonight. There's no expectation that you all will take action.
Okay.
So we'll take the feedback, and if this is something that can be on the next agenda, we'll do that. Or if we have to continue discussion, we'll do that as well. So I will turn it over to Ms. Joyce.
Excellent. Thank you.
And
Good
no,
evening, Ms.
no
Joyce.
slides tonight, so you all are in luck. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. We are moving on our next step towards more affordable and workforce housing through the formation of a housing commission. That was one of the strategies, included in the action plan of our housing strategy. So we just wanted to go over that tonight of what it would look like, what we would like to do with that commission and when we'll get started. We're proposing to have a housing commission of 9 members. Initially, the commission will start with 6 members from our housing strategy work group and 3 members that were not in that group. So we will be doing an application process for that. We will have members will serve 3 years. In order to start staggered terms, the first membership block, some people will serve 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years to be able to rotate that. The Housing Commission will meet on a quarterly basis. We have some important housing roles that we would like them to fill. The first thing is to serve as a partner to our housing strategy, helping us to move that forward. The housing strategy, we talked about that in the July meeting. It will be out soon. That's a good abstract word for it, but it will. The Housing Commission will serve as a way of monitoring the strategy as we make progress. We will add additional things as we're ready to tackle more complex programs, more activities, more funding options, things like that. They'll provide expertise and guidance to council, city leadership to help us improve the amount and quality of both affordable and workforce housing. Up to 2 of the representatives will participate in an advisory role in our CDBG or Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan process. They will also help conduct periodic reviews of our housing strategy. The Housing Commission will provide to you all on an annual basis a written report that explains all the activities from the previous year. And we're hoping that the first meeting will be in January of 2026. So I'm happy to answer any questions, take any input that you all would like to provide.
Thank you, Ms. Joyce. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ms. Joyce, thank you for this. This has been, a long process on
Yes.
this, but we're trying to make sure we do this right and make it as effective as we possibly can with that too. And looking over your resolution and also the goals of the thing of the Housing Commission, it's just there are just so many separate things that a commission like this can get into. I mean, like infill housing, abandoned properties, as well as the a more sort of public clearinghouse for the distribution of whatever funding we, whether it's through CDBG or HUD or things like that. So, and also just a great place for the public to have input.
Yes, yes. And I think having the housing strategy to start out with, and we pared that down to a period of 18 months of implementation, will give everybody a good chance to start working on activities and then also branch out and look forward to tackling some of those bigger projects and bigger issues with housing.
So the 3 new members, you said they would go through an application process.
Yes.
Do we anticipate folding that into the existing nominations committee
Yes.
responsibility?
Yes.
I look forward to having at least one representative of the commercial housing. I don't think we have such a representative now, and that would be a helpful
Right.
perspective.
Yes. Right now we don't. So we will include that in the application process of that we're looking for someone who has realtor experience. Any other questions or input?
So how diverse would the commission be? Made up of which members of the community are you looking to have on the commission?
I think right now it would be for those 3 existing or 3 members not involved in the housing strategy work group. I would think members of the community that are interested and engaged in creating more affordable housing and workforce housing. It would be nice if there were people that utilized either one of those things, affordable housing or workforce housing. I think we would like to have as diverse of a committee as possible that represents the whole community. So that would be our goal.
Is anybody from the current strategy group planning to drop off and then have to be replaced, or you're thinking they're all gonna?
Well, they will fill the 6 slots.
Yeah,
We have
there.
about 18 members now, so we will, I was waiting till we did this tonight. I'll reach out to them and gauge who might be interested in continuing. And then after that, they're all really knowledgeable and do a great job, so it may end up being a picking their name out of a jar for fairness. But yes, so I will gauge to see who is interested in continuing and who is not. And just to clarify too, the commission, the strategy, we know there's a lot of regional efforts going on. We're very plugged into those as well. And I know you all are going to talk about the Stanton plan edits and things that you all have done to that very soon in the meeting. And I've already looked at those, and those are very compatible to what our goals have been. So I think we're right in line with what you all are looking for.
All righty.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Joyce. It's
Sure.
always nice to have you here.
Well,
Thank you for your
nice
work.
to be here. Thank you.
Do you anticipate that the 6 existing people, once either if they decide to leave or once their term is served out, would that convert to an application process to fill?
I would think so. If they were deciding to leave, yes, I think we would just, the first round is people that were in that work group, but
Nice to have
after
a
that.
continuity.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All righty, on to item D, a discussion and consideration of City Council strategic plan areas, goals, and strategies, otherwise known as the Staunton Plan. We have Ms. Beauregard.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening, Ms. Beauregard.
All right, I prepared a PowerPoint to kind of direct the conversation, and you all obviously saw the report that you approved earlier this evening. So this will generally follow the same lines, although we're making a few suggested changes, but just to remind you, strategic plans are meant to be fluid living documents. So none of this is static. Things will change as we continue to update you and provide you progress reports on how things are going. So this is just the beginning. So the Staunton plan, just a little history, first developed in 2023, refreshed in 2024. And then these are pretty significant changes since you all first talked in February. And then we had a retreat a few weeks ago, or a month ago, I guess, it's already October, that you all kind of honed things down and really talked through some things and kind of got very specific on what you wanted to see happen. It's intended to drive both strategic priorities and how we operationalize them, which is my job. And then I already mentioned it's meant to be a living document, and that requires updates. So the vision did not change. It's still a culturally rich historic city with an exciting future and of innovation, growth, and resilience. You belong here. So that did not change. The values also did not change. But I'm excited to say that this past year, we really started to think about how do we integrate and align the values with what we're doing in the city. And so the most exciting and visible thing is the employees of the month and year, and tying those also with city services and initiatives. And I just want to show you some examples of how we do that. So here's some employees of the month pictures. We have employees in the sheriff's office demonstrating integrity. We have we talked about Wellness Month in August, being environmentally conscious. And there's just some public works guys working. And then we have Blue Ridge Court Services demonstrating excellence through what they do. We talk about inclusion and equity with You Belong Here. And then finally, engagement, which is a picture of some firefighters. And this year, a first grader from Bessie Weller got to ride home in a fire truck. So again, a great example of how our employees are engaged in the community. So with everything we do with employees and how we recognize them, we're aligning those with the values of the city so that they always remain visible to everybody. And you see the pictures around City Hall as well, which is really nice. So at the September 13th retreat, you continued the work you started in February. You revised your strategic areas, goals, and strategies, looking at kind of a 2-year period. The timelines that we talked about are going to have to continue to be fleshed out, and I'm going to continue to review those with staff. And I'll talk at the end about those next steps. And there's other suggested changes within the presentation that I'm going to offer to you as well. So here's your first area. Your first kind of large goal is comprehensive economic development. And this is attract new industries and support the expansion and retention of existing business. And there are 3 strategies, which is provide updates and progress on enterprise zones, which you've actually done that. So that's checked. But then the important thing to understand about this is that that's not the only thing that needs to happen. This is a good example. So now you have that in place. That mechanism, really what matters now is how you hear how that does. So that's not going to be like, I checked that box, we're not going to talk about it ever again. No, the reason it's on here is because we will make sure we definitely talk about that again and often to you all. So now that you have adopted the enterprise zones and the new processes and programs, now we actually are going to start moving forward and implementing those. And then the exciting part will be, how are these doing? So that's the exciting part. And that's good that that's the first example. Same thing with the second one, the economic development website, and actually the third one, economic development activities. We're not just going to give you an update. We're going to actually be talking to you frequently about all of these initiatives. I spoke to Ms. DeMayo and Ms. Blythe today about what they were thinking about updates. It may not be quarterly updates. It may be something else. So we're talking about that, about the best way to provide updates to you that you want to see. And then hopefully, my hope is then you provide us input as far as, yeah, we like that update, but maybe we want something different. And so this is a good first example, I think, of how this kind of lives and breathes throughout time as you all see the information we push out to you, and then you can react to it. And if you have a question, pipe up. I'm just going to keep going. Did you have a question? Okay. Sorry, I saw your hand raised.
Dr. Israel.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe a quick question on the
yes,
last.
sir.
So
Yeah.
these seem a little bit more summarized than the more fully fleshed out version in the packet. Is it your intention that these supersede what's in the packet, or?
No, I just did this for the slides.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of words on the kind of in the retreat packet.
Yeah.
So these are just for the benefit of summarizing these on a slide. But it does not mean any of that stuff is eliminated whatsoever. Okay. No, that'll all get fleshed out as we work through these strategies, and then we decide, okay, this is what we need to really focus on. So no, they're not, doesn't mean they're gone. I'm just trying to I'm just trying to summarize.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Got a lot.
High level. Okay. This first bullet was actually in that first item, but it really focuses on downtown, not so much about economic development. There is an element of economic development, but I actually am suggesting we put it in the downtown goal area because it seems to make more sense. It's really going to affect downtown. So this first one is about designated outdoor refreshment areas, which folks are interested in, definitely. So we will definitely be looking at that in the very near future, as far as we talked about having a spring 2026 kickoff with the festivals when things pick up again. And then this second one, it was nice that Main Street was here, and I'm glad Mr. Overholtzer had that question, is looking at the holistic plan for downtown, and most certainly SDDA and Main Street would be a partner with the city. I mean, it has to happen that way. We're not in this alone. This is a big deal. So this would be a significant initiative to take on. So I'm glad to hear that, Main Street heard that, and now it's on their radar as well. So thank you for bringing that up. And I wrote a note about that too. So This is exciting. I did leave in the elements on this that we would be looking at the very least. So so that was an exciting.
It sounds like CSBDC might have some bearing on stuff.
Them too. Yes, sir. Yes.
Crossover on that. And I will say SCDA is actively looking into DORA events
Okay.
as it would work with downtown.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah. So this is kind of neat, the kind of how this is coming together. So this next area is about responsible growth through effective and efficient planning and land use processes. A lot of this is talking about the comprehensive plan update, which you'll be hearing an update on that actually at the next meeting. We're looking at the next citizen engagement session on November 10th. And so you'll be hearing more about this as we go through the next few months for adoption next summer or spring. And then actually the second bullet you'll also hear about at the next meeting, because this is already happening. So this is in the budget to have like an online system for permit processing, tracking, management, et cetera. And Mr. Rhodes will be coming to provide an update on that, kind of as where they are in the process, when that, kind of just talk through that a little bit, like what are the benefits going to be and how will it help them do their jobs better and how will it be beneficial to those that are getting permits and want to do business with the city. So he'll be actually talking about that at the next meeting as well. So. All right, the next one is supporting responsible growth through effective, well, this is actually a continuation, sorry. So this is again, continues with strategies under 1C, re-examining lighting ordinances, which Mr. Rhodes has also indicated that they will start looking at as well. And then conducting proactive reviews of development standards. And then we talked about also evaluating the city's ordinances and regulations regarding Airbnbs, with a work session being the first step. And so I'll be letting you know when we can get that work session scheduled. There's a few players I have to talk to in the city about that still. All right, and the last kind of area on this goal is supporting affordable housing, which you just heard about. So it's exciting. So you've got a Housing Commission resolution in front of you, and that will help support moving forward the housing strategies, goals, and strategies. I literally took that language from Rebecca's presentation, and I know we had some other language. I think it all aligned. Actually, everything you talked about at the retreat aligned with that. So that was nice how that kind of worked out. So, all right. And the next area, it's an advanced environmental sustainability and infrastructure. These kind of blended together a little bit. So we tried to reorganize things a little bit to make it a little bit easier to kind of work through. This first one is focusing on programs that enhance the city's livability and also environmental sustainability. So the first one is about looking at solar solutions or other types of city energy solutions that will either reduce our cost, that are more environmentally based, looking at sustainability and resilience. And so the examples I listed here are looking at the JDR General District Court and other city facilities, city fleet, what are we driving around town? Looking at LEED certification and minimum standards. This is a big push. This is going to take some effort. So we're going to have to really kind of think about how this one is going to be handled, because it really should be looked at holistically. I've reached out to some other jurisdictions who are ahead of us on this, but it's, and some of them have staff that do just this. So we're going to have to get creative with this, frankly, and it's going to be baby steps. But I think there's a lot we can do. And I did hear what Ms. Cundy said too about, the tier 2, the chargers. And so that just interesting things to think about. But I think we're going to have to come back with a plan, and I'm not sure when that will happen, as far as how we kind of tackle this one. So this next one, I'm suggesting a slight rewording on 2B, proactively address aging infrastructure with a focus on environmental sustainability. And here's where I put down information about Uniontown. And I did find out today that the design should be started by the end of this calendar year, but I think we'll come back to you with a timeline just to kind of remind folks where we are with Uniontown. I spoke to Mr. Hart today about it. So we'll come back soon with kind of a more advanced timeline, but the design should be beginning with our contract engineer by the end of this calendar year.
So we already have a contract engineer that we can utilize.
That's what he said. Yeah, he said we wouldn't have to kind of advertise that out. They would use somebody on contract. And the next bullet is providing an update and progress on the flood resiliency plan. And that would be Ms. Hughes's office who would do that. And then also providing an update on bike ped and greenway plans. So basically you're very interested in seeing how these projects move forward. How are we, working through what needs to be done to ensure that, for instance, how are we going to implement the bike ped plan and the greenway plan? And I know the bike ped plan is also being updated right now. So getting you more information on that and then kind of directing funding towards those things kind of is the ultimate goal. This is about increasing sustainability and managing costs by reducing landfill usage and encouraging environmentally friendly practices. So I know as part of the 27 budget process specifically, you all are very interested in hearing about the solid waste management options and practices. And then also discussed at the retreat was the plastic bag tax, which we'll begin to explore and bring something to you all as part of the budget process for 27. And then continuing with 2C, increasing education for citizens regarding all solid waste and recycling. And then in March of next year, the trash modernization program will be a year old. So it seems like that would be a good time to come back to you all and tell you how things are going. And I know we've just done residential, so there's still the commercial side, there's still the downtown district side, and all those have to still be kind of thought through and implemented. So hopefully by then we'll be able to talk about all those things as well. The third goal is improved quality of life through recreation. The 3A, enhanced quality of life for citizens through investment and innovation in parks and recreation and cultural amenities. And I think the biggest thing out of this one is a Parks and Rec master plan, which I don't think in my time we've never done one. I can't remember when one was ever done, actually. I did list the items in here that you all talked about. That it wouldn't be limited to that, but that's what you'd like to see. I kept Moxie Stadium separate, although that could be part of the master planning, but I think if there's interest in kind of re-looking at Moxie, because we do have the study that was done that gave you the different options, that's something we could definitely do during the upcoming CIP process, which is begun. We're already having departments starting to submit those projects. Other strategies under 3A is looking at public arts and building out an initiative related to that. And then the one about native plants was in another area, but I put it here because it really does, it's kind of about our parks. It's not, I think it was an infrastructure before, but I liked hearing what I heard earlier, what Ms. Cundy said about the Lewis Street lot too. And so I don't think, I would want to certainly, we'll get with Parks and Recreation. And I know Matt Sensabaugh is very interested in this. And so I don't think this would be too much of a push. And I think getting a report in front of you all as far as changes that could be made, as far as what types of plantings show up where and why, why that doesn't work or not. So, but I put it here because it seemed more like a Parks and Recreation rather than kind of an infrastructure item. 4 is effective communication with citizens, and couple strategies here. Publishing a resource library for Staunton Citizen University, which Mr. Knight has been working on. So that's great. That's already happening. One thing that was talked about is establishing a protocol for keeping the city's website updated. That can be challenging. So Mr. Knight is also working on, coming up with a protocol, and so that people and departments keep up with things. It just can't be the city manager's office finding things, but sometimes that feels like what happens. So we're going to be working on that protocol. And then this is kind of an exciting project, is kind of taking the citizen experience and being able to have one hub for city services. And there's just a few examples here. I know that Mr. Knight is also working with IT and Public Works on a GIS platform to look at GIS to look at capital projects that are around the city. And so that's actually, I saw a little snippet of that the other day, and it's really exciting, or an example that he showed me actually from another jurisdiction. So that is definitely in the works. And I think that will actually be very helpful for folks to be able to see where things are happening around town and what they are. And it'll talk about the budget, it'll have timelines, it'll have pictures, it'll have a map. And so I think that's really exciting, and I will be able to report on that soon as far as when that might be up and running. And with the recent boil water emergency, this came up a lot, emergency robust communications. I know Mr. Knight has been working with Chief Ball on that as well. So I think we're going to have some enhancements on that too as well. And I think going through the boil water advisory, we learned a lot from that experience. And so we'll take those learn lessons, and, you know, apply those when necessary, and always looking for ways to communicate better, you know, better with our citizens. So we have some ideas around that I think we can implement rather easily. And then we did talk about AI, which is a little scary in our retreat, but what we committed to was learning more about it. And I will 100% admit, I really need to learn more about this, as does staff. So I think it's an exciting potential. I'm curious what that potential could be, but I know local governments are talking about it a lot. And every time I see an article on it now, I'm making sure I read it. There's just so much that's pushed out. So we're going to be committed to learning more about that potential, because I do think there's something there. I just don't know what it is right now. So these are other action items that didn't feel like they fell kind of under a strategic goal, but we're going to do. For instance, as part of the 27, but in any budget process, we would look at taxes, fees, and other strategic revenue. We would certainly look at those and make recommendations to you, or you would provide recommendations to us that you would like to do for a budget. We're always going to look at our long-term city infrastructure needs. And I think we could do a better job at communicating what those are. And staff had a capital improvement plan retreat a few weeks ago, where everybody was in the same room, cross-departmental, including the schools. And everybody said to me, I didn't know that was happening. I'd never heard that before about that project in that department. So I think that helped everybody think about what everybody is doing, and it did help them think long-term. So I'm excited about that. So I think people have a newfound energy and understanding of what long-term needs mean. And I was thinking about the radios, like we have 15 years, we should start saving for those now, for instance. We shouldn't wait in 15 years to have to find $5 million to replace our share of a radio project. So, but we will do that. We do that constantly, and that will make sure that we continue to do that. We're always looking for city service efficiencies and cost savings, for instance, where those can be accomplished. Looking at the reserve levels in conjunction with maintenance of city facilities, and that will be looked at as part of the CIP process. And then we're always looking at ways to provide services at a regional level. I think a great example is the animal shelter, which will be opening very soon. The ribbon cutting is in a few weeks, and that's a great example of a very successful regional project that if we had to do that alone would be massively expensive and impossible. So, but we always continue to look for ways to cooperate and actually do things regionally with our partners. And I think the PDC's presentation was a good example of that as well. You've asked for also to be updated on city grants and obtained by the city, and we're working on a report. I probably can get something to you earlier than January, but we're looking at January kind of to start pushing that out. There's reporting periods, and that will get through a reporting period. So I'm working with finance on that. We also heard what you said about the activity report and making that more year-over-year trend data from departments and making it more of a feature on the city's website. And I don't know if you knew what it looked like before, but it kind of looked like a book with no pictures. And at least now it's got pictures. But you know, this feedback was great, and we're going to work towards, you know, taking baby steps to have departments submit more of that year-over-year data as well. And then I think it's also exciting to think about the new pool house, which I love passing by several times every day on my way to and from work to see it being built. And I'm very excited about, you know, hopefully I would love to, fingers crossed, work very hard to get the season extended through Labor Day. I mean, I think that would be amazing with a new pool house. So that's really exciting. And we've already talked to Mr. Tuttle about that possibility. So that's definitely on our short list. So next steps is I will continue to review the strategies and timelines with city staff, and I'd like to come back at your November meeting with recommended timelines and a process and a schedule for keeping you all updated. I really just want to keep this in with you, you know. I mean, that helps us too, kind of keeping it in front of you, keeps it in front of us. And so that will be really helpful, but we'll come back in November with some more, you know, to kind of have you look at some more things as far as the process and schedule. And then we're going to be asking departments for performance measures to align with these strategies for the FY27 budget process. So that will be kind of a new ask of them. And again, we're going to start slow and then build these over time, which is exciting. So that's it. And happy to take your feedback. What we're looking for tonight is, affirmation that yes, this looks good as a start. This is what we're going to start building from. And unless there's something huge that was missed or any, significant changes that you want to make, and then we can do that. So happy to answer any questions or take suggestions.
I mean, that, as Jeff pointed out, that this is a simplification for this presentation. I
Right.
mean, we really got into the details, in this plan in particular, and it's not just a vague, we're going to try to, we got into specifics about
It's dates
implementation,
and timelines.
timelines, when we're looking at
Yeah.
these things, because
Yeah. And that's what I want to come back to you on. I know we talked about timelines. I want to come back and make sure those timelines can be either real or they need to be adjusted. And so that's what I'm going to come back in November and basically present to you is those revised timelines. But recognizing that, everything on that list is definitely, you all did talk about it in some detail, and that was great because that will help us kind of flesh out each of these items as we go forward and look to provide you all progress and on the whole thing. So,
And a goal is to take this, continue to refine it to replace the strategic
yes,
areas on our website.
correct,
So it's just more publicly facing.
correct. That's
So-
right.
So
I think you did a good job of common themes where you grouped everything. I even think
Yeah.
with some reworking, the other action items most of these can probably fit in the 4 general topics.
Yeah,
created.
we could do that. I mean, I don't think that would, we could definitely do that.
My one big just recommendation, just looking at this is I would change number 3, just focused on recreation and just focus on improved or enhancing quality of life. And then I would slide over bike and pedestrian to that. Talk about continued connectivity and accessibility within our community. And I know we have the school athletic facilities on there, but I would go bigger and just say something in general, more of supporting our public school system. I mean, the school needs bike and pedestrian, recreation, and cultural initiatives, I think all fit nicely within a general quality of life theme.
It's funny because I almost did put bike ped there. And then I ended up not putting it there.
Yeah, I would agree with
you
you,
all
Adam.
okay
I
with
think
that?
that makes a lot of
That would work
sense to do
together.
it that way, but there's so much information that you were
Yeah.
parsing through.
Condense 7 hours worth of conversation nicely.
More than that, yeah.
there's one specific item that we talked about at the retreat that I think maybe belongs in either 2A or 2B in environmental and infrastructure. And that is to change our process for repaving projects, and particularly public-owned parking lots. And a big example would be that Moxie Stadium parking lot, that vast parking lot. And perhaps also the JDR parking lot, which is equally vast. And include an option for green islands, rain gardens in bid documents for repaving of those lots. So we can compare just putting asphalt down versus kind of punctuating the asphalt with green areas. And that has beautification elements, but also practical elements of flood mitigation. And to the extent that we do that, systematically, bit by bit across the city, it helps with flood mitigation. So it could be part of that flood remediation strategy.
All right, I made a note of that.
Any other comments from Ms. Beauregard?
Okay,
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Beauregard.
All right, thank you. So I'll be
Yeah.
back in November. and if
Yeah,
you- I'm
we know where to
sorry,
find you.
sir.
So I have one more
Okay.
thing. And it concerns an item that we talked about with reducing the landfill deposits. And I like the language that's the more detailed language with the timelines that is in the agenda packet. I have a suggested one additional item to make it a bit more specific and targeted, which is to come up with a plan that includes a range of options for specific reductions of landfill deposits, to look at a range of options. For instance, over a 5-year period, what kind of efforts, what sort of resources would be required to reduce by 10% in a 5-year period, 20%, 30%? And as council, we could evaluate the sort of the cost benefit analysis. The 30% is going to be more aggressive and probably more costly in terms of time, resources, capital expenditures. The 10%, maybe not so much, but we could evaluate and say, yes, we're ready to go for the aggressive option, but it would have specific steps in it. And the reason this is important, I just want, for the public record, we talked about this in the retreat, but we're sort of on an unsustainable path economically and environmentally. It costs us 1.6 million in landfill fees alone. That's not counting the salaries and fees and the operating costs for our refuse crews to pick up trash. That's just for the privilege of dumping our stuff in the landfill. And then a vast amount of time and effort. They have to monitor each closed landfill unit for 30 years. There are 100 gas collection wells where methane and CO2 goes to a central location and it gets burned off, and CO2 gets belched into the atmosphere 24 hours a day. So the environmental reasons, but also economic reasons, the cost of our recycling operation is about $110,000 a year. So compare that to 1.6 million a year. That includes revenues that we get back for selling metals. So there are many, many options that I think that we could take and that could be included in a plan. Everything from educating residents, and their consumption habits, educating them about how recycling works. And it can be confusing sometimes, the types of plastic that are eligible, but make it clear and simple, update our website, have proper signage at the recycling center. Consider ways that we can make recycling more attractive and easier for our residents. Also, this was a key area in our biannual survey, which I think is touched on. Is that the next item? Yes, it is. This was one of the key areas of dissatisfaction from the community, where compared to other peer groups, other peer cities, residents were not so happy with our recycling operation, but said it was important. So this is sort of a win-win. If we invest in recycling, education, potentially a plastic bag tax, lots of other things. Where do we get the most return on investment? For our effort, for city staff time, in terms of an improvement, and the way you measure it is, and luckily the Augusta Water Authority, which runs the landfill, they measure this and give us data every single month. Here's how much Staunton in tons contributed. By the way, 27,000 tons. That's what we put in the landfill every year. Right now, what we recycle is about 2% of that. That's based on just statistics that we just started gathering. But where do we get our biggest return on investment as measured by reduction in landfill deposit? So I guess so that's the why. That's why we think this is important. And the what is, I think the missing piece is a plan that looks at a range of options. What would it take to reduce it 10%, 20%, 30%? And, we can do the cost benefit and say, we think it's worth it to go for the most aggressive option, or maybe something in between. But it gives us option. We're transparent about the costs and the effort that it would require. So I think that's the piece that I would like to see added to that component. Make sense?
I think so. Any other additions for Ms. Beauregard? All righty, well,
Thank you.
thank you. And you are up next. Oh, okay, our item E, update on 2025 community survey. Ms.
So Ms.
Beauregard.
Kaufman, our assistant city manager, is actually going to
okay.
take this one.
Terrific. Good evening, Ms. Kaufman.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So this is going to be just a brief update. Staunton has engaged Polco to administer the National Community Survey for the second time. The survey was recently underway as of last week, and so this will be just a brief update on the survey tool itself and the timeline. So NCS is a community satisfaction survey that's utilized in local governments across the country. The tool focuses on livability measures, and those include both the habitability and the desirability of a community. The results of the survey can serve as an important tool for decision-making and budgeting. And while we receive feedback and data from the community in a variety of other ways, this particular tool is unique in that it is using a scientific methodology. So the city initiated administration of NCS as a biennial tool 2 years ago. Late 2023, early 2024 was our first survey. So this is the second time we've done it, and we will continue to administer this survey every other year in the fall. So the survey instrument is standardized and has remained unchanged since our last time we conducted it. This allows for an accurate comparison not only to ourselves year over year, but also to the other benchmarks from across the country. And those are about 500 communities at this time. The first survey we conducted established a baseline, but this year we'll actually start to have some trend data since we'll have 2 years. Now, 3,000 households were selected at random to be included as part of the sample. This represents about 25% of households total in Staunton. And those included in the random sample will receive invitations or have already received invitations to participate by mail. Just a reminder, all survey responses are completely anonymous and confidential. While the design of the survey is meant to minimize error, I just want to address that there are limitations. This could include anything such as respondents' direct experience or lack thereof with specific services asked about, recall bias, or even the time of year that the survey is conducted. So the categories that the questions fall into are seen on the screen here. We've got economy, community design, safety, parks and rec, education, arts and culture, mobility, utilities, natural environment, health and wellness, and inclusivity and engagement. So I put kind of a one-page summary from 2 years ago in front of you, and there's also some copies here if anyone in the audience would like them. They're also available online at the address shown here. So full data, 100+ pages, plus the summary data is all available on our website. And then in terms of the data for next year, we will likely be presenting that to you in early 2026, and that will be publicly available at that time as well. So next steps for the administration of the scientific survey, the initial postcards were sent out to the random sample last week of households. And so they should have received postcards that look like this. These postcards contain a participation link to participate online in the survey. If those households would prefer to complete a paper survey, this week there will be paper packets being sent out to those same households. So anyone who is included in that random sample can choose which way they would like to participate. And those will remain open until November 11th. There's also an open survey option. And so this is an open survey link that anyone in the community can participate in. It is not a scientific survey because of that. But in late October, we will send that out through our various social media and website channels to notify the public when that's available. That will also remain open until the 11th of November. So data analysis and reporting. Polco will analyze the data after the survey closes and provide a report to the city in late December. In early 2026, that data will be presented back to you at a council meeting and made available to the public. And so that's just kind of a summary of where we're at, and I'll take any questions if you have them.
Can you explain why you do the scientific survey and then the open survey? What kind of information are you, I mean, I understand the scientific survey because it's the random nature of it, but then
Well, just to gain another point of input there, and so
Mhm.
that anyone who wants to participate that wasn't part of that sample has the ability to do so. The results are analyzed separately, of
Right,
course,
okay.
and shown separately, but it does provide us an additional data point.
Right.
Mhm.
I really like the idea of a standard process every 2 years, and we can compare
Mhm.
trends. Are we getting better? Are we getting worse in some areas? And comparing against a national peer group. It's a really good process, and it's good to use an established survey company that has kind of a verified instrument. That's the technical name for it.
Mhm.
I've done surveys, and it's very hard to construct a survey that everyone will understand, that's meaningful, that you get meaningful answers from. So it's a good process. The only thing I lament a little bit is I wish there was a little more opportunity for open-ended answers. That is sort of free text where people can write. And sometimes that's where you get the gold, where you actually see, they say that, recycling is not great, but why? What is it that they are concerned about, or what do they think would make it better? But I think we've talked about the possibility for targeted follow-up surveys.
Yeah, I think
that
my suggestion was, since this will be we'll have 2 years of data when the survey is done. Then if there's an area you want to explore further, then we can target that area. So that would be a really good way to get the information that you want specifically. And we have lots of different ways to do that. Polco has tools to do that. Or we could, have other ways, but there's lots of different options. So that will definitely be a discussion we'd like to have with you all once these survey results are ready, to say, where do you want to target now? And maybe that's the first one you do, because then you'll be hearing about, trash modernization in March as well. So maybe the timing of that will work really well. So.
And we don't necessarily need to wait 2 years to drill down. As Leslie mentioned, we have a subscription to Polco now. And so we can drill down further into any area that we're interested in and send that out for public feedback at any time.
Perfect. Any other questions for Ms. Kaufman? Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much for your work on that. Look forward to the results. All righty, well, that brings us to matters from the city manager.
I only have one announcement. Because of the federal holiday, Shop and Dine Out will extend an extra day. It'll be
Nice.
extended through Monday. Also, Shop and Dine Out is done at the end of October. So it will complete the season on the last weekend in October as well. So a few more weeks left of that. But you do get an extra day this weekend, so hopefully the weather will cooperate. And
Excellent.
that's my only announcement this evening.
All right, excellent. Well, then that takes us to our final item on the agenda tonight, which is entitled Matters from the Public. This is a time that council sets aside to hear from citizens and others about a wide variety of subjects. A copy of the Staunton City Council's Matters from the Public rules are available in paper form at the clerk's desk and online on the City of Staunton's webpage. You are asked to familiarize yourself with those rules before commenting. If you would like to speak, please come to the podium or raise your hand on Zoom. First, give us your name and address and complete your remarks within 5 minutes. As a reminder, this is a time for council to listen. If you would like an answer to a question or a follow-up to your comment, please speak with the city manager, Leslie Beauregard, or one of us following the meeting. Would anybody like to speak during matters of the public? Yes, sir, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Mark Hopp. I live at 563 Hilltop Drive in Staunton.
Good evening, Mr.
Thank you. In 2018, in Carpenter versus the United States, the Supreme Court ruled that police need a warrant to access historical cellular GPS data, as this reveals citizens' location over time and implicates the Fourth Amendment. Since that time, the rate of automated license plate readers has skyrocketed, with nearly all of the market going to one company, Flock, which is what we use here in Staunton. They have nearly 100,000 cameras, and they have one central database that's ripe for hacking and abuse. This database is in effect an end run around the Supreme Court's 2018 ruling, as it reveals the same location over time information, only this time using Flock's connected system. This, despite Virginia law, limited data sharing to just Virginia borders. Right here in the great state of Virginia and the city of Norfolk, there's currently a federal lawsuit against the city of Norfolk and Flock that has advanced to the trial phase, in which several citizens have filed it. Opening arguments are expected to be in February. Our beloved city of Staunton doesn't need to be part of such a system. Like some other states, Virginia laws restrict localities from sharing their information to outside the state, and have laws that make it illegal for departments to share the license plate data and locations with the federal government. But as we've seen recently in Illinois and California, the police departments did it anyway, some stating it was just an accident. In one city, automated license plate readers were used by the sitting sheriff against his political opponent, tracking his movements. There have been a multitude of cases where they have been used to track ex-girlfriends of police officers in Kansas, Connecticut, Florida, California, and Texas, just to name a few. In Colorado, New Mexico, and New York, automated license plate readers have made mistakes, causing police to pull over families for felony stops, which results in guns being drawn at innocent people and children. This no doubt led to lawsuits and lost money for these cities. Currently in Virginia, the data is supposed to be stored for 21 days. Regardless of the storage duration, as reported by the Policing Project at New York University, officials can download data on a rolling basis before the retention period expires, allowing them to, quote, avoid the transparency and auditing features built into the automated license plate reader systems. Not only that, but it doesn't take a computer engineer to realize that once a piece of data is captured, it's there. It's never going away. It's always available, whether it's through a backdoor or a standard way. This is just a fact of life with computers today. Flock's CEO was quoted in Forbes as saying he envisions a future where there is no crime. But at what cost? My father worked at a state maximum security prison in Maryland for 35 years, and I can tell you that drugs, assaults, sexual battery, and all that stuff goes on inside of a jail that has cells, despite the fact that there's 24 hours, 7 cameras and everything else. Let's have Staunton be a leader like Austin, Texas, Denver, Colorado, Sedona, Arizona, Scarsdale, New York, Evanston, Illinois, and others in recent months that have canceled their contracts with Flock and removed their license plate readers. I see no point in making a prison out of our society. The only way to be sure the data and intricate details of the innocent is safe is to not have the cameras taking personal data in the first place. Thank you.
Mr. Knight, do we have anybody with their hand raised?
Madam Mayor, there are no hands raised.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Barron.
Hey, good evening. My name is Dwayne Barron. I live at 301 Gooch Street. And I also came to talk about Flock cameras. Sorry, I missed the presentation earlier from Chief Williams. I had a soccer practice with my kid. I think all of the points that Mark just made are good. I was looking, you guys are the hardest working people around. I can't, it's 8 o'clock and you're paying attention to me talking to you. But I was looking at these values of the city: integrity, inclusion, and equity, excellence, engagement, environmentally conscious. And Flock Safety's goal is a nationwide surveillance system. They're not concerned with solving a crime in Staunton. They're concerned with building a $100 billion corporation that provides a nationwide surveillance system. That's what they're after. That's where they're building systems in cities across the town. That's where they're trying to get the legislature to allow the state police to put them on the interstates. That's what they're trying to build. This data, while, as you know, it's limited by Stanton's rules, it's on Amazon servers. Those servers, so it's not in Stanton, it's on Amazon servers. The cameras can, even if we're not specifically paying for it, develop profiles based on bumper stickers. There's real concerns about what their AI can do in terms of it profiling people for their speech that's on the back of their cars. Now, I don't have any specific reports or specific evidence that they've done that, but their AI system can very well do that. And if you look in the news, you can see pictures of what the back bumper profiles look like, and you can clearly read bumper stickers. So if you're driving around with certain kinds of speech in the back of your car, it's possible, and it's certainly conceivable, that Flock Safety can track you in and out of Stanton, across Virginia, and across the country. That's scary. That's not the kind of values that I think that are reflected in the values you guys have selected. Chief Williams says that it helps them solve crime. I think the money can be better invested in the officers that we have who do a great job of solving crime. In the public defender's office, we're all about public safety too. We send people to treatment centers, we send people to mental health. We refer people to all kinds of treatments. That's the way in which we solve crime and prevent crime in the future. Surveillance doesn't prevent crime. So it's my suggestion to the council that we look carefully at whether we want to continue and certainly not expand Flock Safety. There are some cities, I think Charlottesville doesn't have any sharing outside of Charlottesville. There's a cost to that. If we don't share outside of Stanton, we don't get to see what the Norfolk Flock cameras show. But I personally would feel much more comfortable with Chief Williams being the only person who is tracking my activities, because I know Chief Williams and I trust him and his police officers. If we're going to have it, you need to have as strict controls as possible. One of the things that's been proposed in the legislature is warrant requirements. So that's another way in which we can provide some guardrails. But this is a really serious threat to our individual liberties in America. And Flock Safety is about money, and it's about creating a nationwide security system. And they shouldn't be trusted with our data, with our movements in the city of Stanton. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Barron. Mr. Knight, do we have any hands raised online?
We
Or
have
on
no
Zoom?
hands raised.
Do you have any other speakers?
I just wanted to add my voice to the others that this has been a
Could you
real
state your
concern.
name for us?
Sorry, my name is Maggie Worthington and I live at 1746 Englewood Drive. Just wanted to add my concerns to the others that have already been shared in terms of, trying to ensure the safety of residents in Stanton. I honestly think that partnering with a Flock Technologies is bringing more risks than benefits in terms of trying to protect residents. I think that, if we're going to use this type of technology, and I was reading the policies online of all the ways that Stanton, will or won't use this data. But again, how can we guarantee that that will be the case? I think that there are enough risks posed with, how the data is used and managed, where it's stored, the concerns that have already been listed, that I just honestly think that the risks outweigh the benefits. It's not as if we're in some high concentration crime area, that merits these extreme measures. I just don't think that it's wise. And I agree that we should be a leader. This is an incredible town for so many reasons. And I constantly speak highly of it to friends who live elsewhere and tell them what a wonderful place it is to live. And I really hope that the city continues to live up to, the way I've looked at it and the way I've felt about it, because, we should be leading the way in genuine safety and not putting our data and safety at risk with these types of technologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Worthington. Mr. Knight, do we have any hands raised on?
There are no hands
Zoom?
raised.
Thank you. Are there any speakers this evening?
Hello, thank you. My name is Lisa Adams. I live at 168 Elliott Street. I'm not going to tell you that I have done a ton of research on the flock system, but I am going to tell you that I've lived here in Staunton for 15 years and I love it. And I'm concerned about the state of our country at this time and the slippery slope it seems to be taking, the loss of freedoms and rights. And I believe that a flock system contributes to that. And I don't want to see that happen here. This is what I consider my forever home. And I love the community. I love the people. I love the beauty. And I hope that you all will consider keeping our values in line with how and why this country was founded, and what our principles are. And I think that a police state includes things like flock systems, and that that's not what Staunton is about. It's not what the state is about, and it shouldn't be what this country is about. And you all have the power to do something about that. So thank you for allowing me to speak, and really appreciate all the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Mr. Knight, do we have anyone on?
Madam Mayor, there are no hands raised.
Do we have anyone else who would like to speak? Good evening, welcome.
Someone left their phone. That's okay. Hi, my name is Deborah Kushner and I'm a Staunton City resident. Good. The 2023 Virginia General Assembly voted no to both the House and Senate bills on automated license plate readers. But 3 months later, the Criminal Justice Services Board chose to use $8.1 million in ARPA funds for the surveillance technology. Surveillance is big business. Many of you have heard the name Peter Thiel. His company Palantir has a new contract with the federal government to build a database on all of us, including a $30 million contract with ICE to track migrants' movements. Palantir was an early investor in Flock. Locally, Cardinal News in February wrote multiple stories about these cameras in 81 of the 100 localities in Southside and Southwest Virginia that use them. The writer made a FOIA request of Flock documentation of his 300-mile trip he made in Southwest Virginia. None of the responding jurisdictions provided the vehicle distinguishing characteristics that were generated, which begs the question, whose information is this? A store video can be used to prove a crime, but these cameras capture lots of data unrelated to crimes with no oversight outside of the law enforcement community and is not subject to a public information request. Police almost never get a warrant to do a Flock search. And who has access to the database? A Virginia Center for Investigative Journalism article published last month profiled Bridgewater, which has crime rates well below the national average. But in a one-year period, outside law enforcement agencies across the country accessed their Flock data 7 million times. This personal information was shared without consent. Flock claims that each community owns their own data and can control access. But in Flock contract's disclosure of footage clause, including Staunton's contract, Flock claims the right to access, use, preserve, and/or disclose the footage to government and third parties. Did we see that fine print? Data storage and sharing is problematic, as previous speakers have stated. Some localities are paying attention, like Charlottesville, that now uses a 7-day data retention period. The state mandate is 21, and Charlottesville is the only jurisdiction that doesn't share data. In August, Evanston, Illinois canceled its Flock contract, covered their cameras until they could be removed because Flock had allowed U.S. Customs and Border Protection access to those cameras against state law. after a report that law enforcement agencies were able to search Flock's data for assistance in immigration cases. Flock disagreed it had broken the law, but out of caution, Illinois terminated the contract. Officers also in Illinois used the lookup tool to pull data in states where abortion is legal, violating local protections. Flock denied wrongdoing and has since blocked certain search terms. Sedona, Arizona City Council unanimously severed its contract in September due to public upset by the lack of public discussion in the decision to install the readers, Flock data policies, and the use of AI. Reports of Flock not obtaining proper permits to install cameras are in South Carolina, Texas, Illinois, and North Carolina. In addition to the mentioned cities that have canceled Flock contracts, scores of other localities are discussing that possibility. Flock funded a study claiming that the company's products are instrumental in solving 10% of crime in the U.S. After participating in the study, one of the academic researchers is now publicly critical of it. There is a human toll to AI-driven surveillance that is prone to misuse and mistakes. There's suspicion that cameras target low-income Black and Hispanic neighborhoods. The potential exists of using this data against immigrants, people seeking trans or reproductive health care, and women. Everyone is surveilled by these license plate readers, but specific groups of people are criminalized. They're sold as crime prevention or forensics, but can be used for other purposes that hurt criminalized communities. There is no real mechanism for how cars get added to the hot list. They can only have outstanding fines or fees. The mistakes lead to dangerous encounters for community members who are mistakenly stopped. Estimated error rate is 10%.
Ms. Kushner, your time has passed. If you want to share that with us, that would be.
I will, and I want to leave with one question I would like an answer to, and that is what prompted Staunton to seek the system and whether there was a public discussion. Thank you all.
Mr. Knight, do we have anyone with their hand raised?
There are no hands raised.
Good evening, welcome.
Hey, thanks. Janet Harrington, 204 North Coulter Street, right up against Mary Baldwin. So we hear the young soldiers running about once a week. Haven't heard them actually in a few weeks, but we hear them. It was interesting for, my husband was here, I had to go. It was interesting for us to see them standing up here. You know, it's sort of like we hear them. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, but it was neat to see them. I'm not speaking for him, but he wouldn't mind me saying this. My husband is a U.S. Air Force veteran. Oh, there he is. He just walked up to, and we both were a little taken aback by these young women who are entering into military service at this time. This is a time where our leadership is incredibly erratic. Since I was here about a month ago, our president has, against the will of local government, invaded states, impugning their sovereignty. Untrustworthy behavior. Speaking of flock cameras, right? So the idea that, oh, you know, everything's fine, right? It's being carefully guarded. I'm a real estate broker. I tell all my clients and anyone who will listen, like, everything's cool until it's not cool. Since I was here a month ago, we have gotten incredibly more militarized right in our country, impugning the, it's incredible to see people who I know who seem to have this impression that, like, the federal government is the dad and the states are the kids. The states are sovereign. We are sovereign. We are allowed to make decisions, and we should be making decisions that are best for our residents. And that includes residents across the board. Even if they may be guilty, of a misdemeanor of being undocumented. We should not be tracking anyone. It's very unethical to be doing this. You know, that whole like, first they came for the, right? And that's supposed to make us go, oh God, what if they come for me? Well, what if they're coming for them, right? We open with Ubuntu. I mean, Ubuntu, right? We opened with that, like our neighbor. We shouldn't have to say, what if it's me? Oh God, it's gonna be me next. We should care if it's them. And that's happening right now. It's really serious stuff. The normalization of people being tracked. We already have the internet. You know, we already have like social media stalking. We have social media bullying. We talked about that from the beginning, right? We as Americans should not be tracked randomly in our comings and goings. We're not doing anything wrong. This is our normal civil liberties that this country was built on. We have the right to sovereignly say, we're not okay with this. I said before, you know, that I would like to have us say something like, if ICE comes here, will you please not cover your face? Our police don't cover their face. I spoke with a few of you about that and the kind of like, you know, like we don't want to put a target on our back. I would highly encourage you that even if you don't share it with the public, that you guys get together and make a game plan for when ICE comes and begins to brutalize our residents, because it's happening in other places. So I really want to highly encourage us not to have our heads in the sand about that, even if you just do it yourselves. You know, who are we ethically? And I think that that's super important. You know, someone said something about diversity and cultural diversity here. I just want to say real quick while I'm up here, I did notice that the sign out there that talks about the public schools still says that our school is Robert E. Lee, our high school. So maybe that was just like an overlooked thing. Wherever we can, you know, we've got the military reconfederatizing or whatever you would say, right? Like of these places, like I think that needs to be changed. I think we need to like just notice where we are condoning the slide that we're going in this country, because most of us believe that it's pretty anti-American. And that's like well over 50% and over 70% when it comes to, are they coming to your town? So we need to prepare. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harrington. Mr. Knight, do we have any hands raised? Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
We have no hands raised.
Do we have anyone else present who would like to speak? All right, this meeting of the Staunton City Council is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.